Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. I want to get right to this episode. Before we do, I want to thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Want to let you know the best way to reach out to me is probably an email at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com or through my Instagram account at jscottoutdoors. Just send me a direct message. I want to thank GoHunt.com. They are the title sponsor and have been since the inception of my podcast in 2015. You guys know Cody Nelson, my friend, the glassing guru, the optics authority there, the optics manager at GoHunt.com. If you guys have any optics needs, any tripod, any glassing questions, you can reach out to Cody directly at 602-399-3699. You can text or call him. That is his cell phone. You can also reach him at 702-847-8747. You can email optics@gohunt.com. Make sure to always use, whether ordering online or if you're calling and call Cody direct, use the J. Scott promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount. Also, you get a 10% discount at the GoHunt Insider, which has incredible mapping now with the GoHunt maps. It also has amazing draw odds and strategy articles, which is super important this spring going into application season. Go check it out, gohunt.com /JScott. And if you use the J. Scott promo code, you're going to get a $50 GoHunt Gear Shop gift card when you sign up just by using the J. Scott promo code. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. I've been using KUIU gear since 2010 when the company started. They're based out of California. My late friend Jason Harrison was the founder of that company, and since Jason's passing, the company has just continued to push the bar of excellence and innovation. Go to KUIU, that's KUIU.com. You can order. It's a direct-to-consumer website. They also have a retail store in Dallas, Texas, as well as the headquarters in Dixon, California. Go to KUIU, KUIU.com to order. I also want to thank Phonescope.com. Cheston and his guys over there at Phonescope make the best digiscoping adapters for your binos or for your spotting scope. Use the JScott24 promo code and get a 10% discount on all orders. Guys, let's get right to this episode. Again, I appreciate you tuning in, and God bless.
Yeah, just a lot of mouth breathing into the mic.
Yeah,
I can't help that.
You're a mouth breather, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
So, like, he goes, dude, I'm talking normal. I'm like, a deer that big? How does,
You guys are already talking big deer?
So the
No, we would never.
So the big property above that
Yeah.
would be awesome to get.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
You guys, we good? Ready to talk property and big deer?
Oh, yeah.
Big elk?
I mean, that's all Jay and I have been talking about. It's going to be easy for us.
We do have a guest today. We have J. Scott Outdoors podcast. And then you sent me you had a blog for a long time.
Yeah, one of the things people don't know is before I started a podcast, I had a blog, and it's still active today. And
Do you still post to it?
I don't post to that as much, but I pretty much use that the blog kind of like my Instagram account now.
Gotcha.
So I posted almost daily on it, and it was kind of like now podcasts, everybody knows the word podcast, knows the term podcast. When I started my podcast, people were like, what's a podcast? Well, when I started my blog, people were like, blog?
What's a blog?
That's
Yeah, what's a
weird.
blog?
Like,
Yeah.
what is a blog? So I had to kind of educate people on that.
Yeah. I went back through it. You sent it to me the other night. We were chit-chatting, just texting back and forth, and I went back and kind of read. I remember reading a bunch of those.
There's a ton of stuff
There's
on
value.
there.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, back in the days when forums, everybody was in a forum, and people had blogs or vlogs, I guess.
But
Yeah.
as a writer, I hate the term blog.
You hate
I
that?
just hate that word. It sounds like you're I don't know, YouTuber doing vlogs, and then you talk about
gonna say,
blogs.
would you
Like it's
hate
an
vlogs?
It's a written piece of content. It's an article. let's call it a
Call it an article.
article on a
Article
website.
sexier than a blog.
Blog.
I like-
blog. It sounds like you're in your mom's basement.
I like
Tomato,
that
tomato.
format though, because you could have written,
Yeah.
and you're not limited to space.
You're not
you know,
limited.
like kind of like Instagram, you're kind of maxed out.
Yeah.
So you could write quite a bit if you wanted, but you could also post video. You could also post photos. So I do agree with you on the term
The
blog.
term
It's kind
blog
of
just-
sucky. Yeah.
It's just I don't know what it is about it.
Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, we've just replaced it with captions now, right?
Yeah, I mean,
on
yeah.
Instagram.
I feel like a blog is just a running.
I think
you know,
we should bring back the blog.
It's like a running stream. It just is a winding stream. There's really not like a direction of where it's supposed to go or where it needs to go. Where a pointed piece of content is supposed that's what it's supposed to do.
It kind of like reminds me like a random person just like
Blog is
doing
just-
an online diary.
Yeah, I
In a
kind
way.
of like
Yeah, sounds-
that
that's great.
aspect. Whatever you kind
like
of
it.
felt
I like
that
it too.
day, and it wasn't like totally planned, and it was a little more like just whatever was on your
Yeah.
mind. That was one thing I really liked. Or transitioning from season to season, where you know you're just kind of putting what's at the front of your mind on the blog.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours would go from turkeys to coos.
Yeah,
back
I mean
to
we were
elk.
hopping all over the place to fishing and everything else.
When did you start that? Do you remember?
It would probably be like 05, 06, 07, somewhere in there, and ran pretty heavy till probably, I'm guessing, 12 or 13.
There were some in the 16s. I looked last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Instagram kind of came out. I think I started in 14 on Instagram. And about that time is probably when the blog kind of took the back seat, because the beautiful thing about Instagram at the time, and still, is everything's so instant.
Yeah.
So even with that blog, in the written text, posting a video, posting pictures, wasn't quite as easy as just boom, post up a picture or a video on Instagram. And so that's where I kind of just, you know, kicked the blog to the side. But it's amazing. People go, I mean, I've had people go, oh man, I've pulled up so much great stuff on your blog. And, you know, it's kind of rewarding to get people going back that far, but there is some really good tidbits on there.
Yeah.
When did you start with the podcast?
The podcast story is pretty cool. January Coos Deer season in 2015, the Meat Eater guys, Steve Ranella and Giannis, had hunted with us, and they've hunted with us, I think, since then. I think this will be their 10th or 11th year this year. But when they got back in like early or late January after the hunt, they said, Jay, we have a pilot episode of our podcast. I said, like, what's a podcast?
Right.
I mean, this was, what's a podcast? Well, it's kind of like a radio show. We want to send you our pilot episode and tell us what you think. Well, I listened to it. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I like this. And then Giannis, Steve, they were like, you should do a podcast. I'm like, no, you know, this is your idea. I don't. And they're like, Jay, no, this is like, the podcast is going to be big. And I'm like, I don't even know what a podcast is. Long story short, I said, you think? And he said, yeah, you should start a Western hunting and fishing podcast. I'm like, well, I don't want to be like stepping on your toes, you know, so naive at the time of what a podcast was, where it's kind of your own individual way to express yourself and whatnot. So I said, hey, what kind of equipment do I need? So Giannis sent me a list of equipment, and I was up and running in 2 weeks. And the crazy story is, like, February of 2015 is when I started it, and Lorenzo actually contacted me, I think 5 or 6 episodes in. And he said, Jay, he said, I love what you're doing with the podcast. He said, I'd love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Lorenzo right here, GoHunt.com, was
Yeah.
the first person to contact me and say, I want to sponsor the podcast. And my take when I got Lorenzo's message was, I'm thinking, sponsor my podcast? Like, I don't
You're
even
like
know.
I'm 5 weeks in.
I'm 5 episodes in, and I don't even know what I'm doing. And, you know, the rest is history. I'm 860 episodes, and, you know, it's been super rewarding for me to do the podcast, and had so many great interviews with great guests, and I've learned so much. And, you know, it's an awesome way for people to be able to listen and learn. And my podcast, I always think my podcast is boring. It's more educational driven, more informational driven. But it's amazing how many people really like stuff like that to, you know, glean information out that they can use on hunts.
Absolutely.
So for me, the great part, it's been rewarding to be able to see people listen to it and get value from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of new content types. Like everyone around here knows Porter says I consume more content than anybody ever should. I like educational entertainment. That's I've always appreciated that. That's why I like Rogan's podcast so much and Huberman's, and it's entertaining, but it's super informative and educational at the same time. So like you're saying, back in those days, it was kind of a new thing. When I saw the first one come out with hunting, which was yours, I'm like,
I don't remember
get
another
it.
one.
I get it. This is so clear to me that this is it. This is so clear to me, and so that's why I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it jumped out at me immediately. Like, yeah, this is going to help people, no question.
And the crazy thing for me is I'm still a one-man band. I don't have a production team. I do my own editing. I post up the videos. Or the content of the podcast. My audio isn't that great, but here's what I know. If you have good information and good education, my podcast is proof that you don't have to be that fancy to have it be successful. And I've kind of stuck with that. Whereas, I feel like you can overproduce. Now, granted, if I did have a production team, maybe I could do way better. But I feel like my audience just kind of accepts me and accepts kind of how I do it and how I roll. And that's a nice part, because you can kind of do it how you want, and you'll have some people that'll not listen and have some people that love it. So
Yeah.
One thing, though, I'm gonna have to say it because Lorenzo said he loves content. What was the one thing I brought up with Lorenzo in 2013, 2014
Come on.
when I interviewed for Go Hunt? I said, hey, there's these things called podcasts. They're going to be big in hunting. 2013, 2014. I said, if I come on a Go Hunt needs to have a podcast. In 2013, 2014, I mentioned that.
Fake news.
I still have my resume. I can pull up my cover letter.
And he said, "What's a podcast?"
It's entirely right. But again,
no one really knew.
Yeah, being naive back then, I saw it as an individual's way of expressing it. I didn't understand that a brand could do it yet. I didn't know that. Like, I'd never wrapped my head around that. I was really struggling with the thought of it. Well, how does a brand do that, though?
Absolutely.
And yeah, you were right. I
just wanted to put it out there.
I am good at
It's just a funny little tidbit I always just remember from way
I'm
back
good at
in the day.
self-reflection.
The thing
you were
I love
entirely
about-
right, and I wish so badly we did.
Yeah.
I really do. That was a huge mistake.
The thing I love about podcasts is we all could have our individual podcast and we could talk about the same thing, but we all have a little bit different
Different
taste and feel, and it's a little bit different, brings different perspective.
Yeah.
And I think in this day and age, in hunting and fishing and all the outdoor stuff we do, it's great to kind of have different perspectives.
Yeah.
Where I was naive with the meat eater guys, I was like, well, I don't want to step on your toes. And they're like, they didn't say it, but they're going to be like, Jay, there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of hunting and fishing podcasts. You don't understand what this really is.
Yeah.
I had come from the world of blogging and thinking, well, I don't want to steal your idea, you know?
Yeah.
But now with all of the hunting and fishing podcasts, it's fantastic because you can basically plug it in, learn about anything out there.
Yeah.
And you can get great entertainment too. Some podcasts are all about entertainment and they're not even about education and information.
Yeah, usually the first 20 minutes of ours is mostly that. Just
We get some flack for it.
Yeah, it's mostly the three of us just sitting around shooting the bull. 'cause we
Lorenzo
have-
dropping F-bombs.
Yes.
But a lot of times it's like we don't really sit around and talk. So I guess it's the only time we
Yeah.
actually can sit and have a conversation. And so
Yeah.
we talk about things that we're really interested in.
Trail is in Cedar. We're down here. Brady's always locked in his cave doing work of all hours of the day. So we rarely get time to actually catch up.
Yeah.
So we use the first 20, 30 minutes of this to usually just like kind of do our own personal catch up.
And I like
then
these
start.
live. I
Yeah.
do some live interviews, but a lot of them are, this is like in-person live. I also like doing phone interviews. The audio quality isn't as good, but you can, it's hard to do these
It
from
is.
scheduling standpoint.
Yeah.
But it's nice when you're able to really get, look in each other's eyes and get that personal connection. That's where, when I've done in-person interviews, I've done some really good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just speaking of quick banter stuff, did you read the comments we got about your truck horn?
Yes.
People
I
love
did.
them, and you should own it.
I really do appreciate people saying it because it does a little validation that I shouldn't.
Did you hear
feel
this?
so
Do you know what he's
bad.
talking about? Give him the Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes is I have a train horn on my truck. I dropped
Like
my
an
kid
actual
off
train horn.
like
It's
a
like-
real air compressed
Yeah. Like an
train
air-
horn. It sounds like a real train. And I dropped my kid off. My kid always climbs out the driver's side door. He wants to be cool, all about a boy trying to look
Yeah.
cool. So he wants to come out the same door as dad. He hit the switch that turns on my air horn, but it only fires when the truck's turned, like when the battery's on, because it runs off that air compressor. So I come bumbling out of school, out the drop-off line, and I
Metagenics soothes vaginal and urinary tract discomfort with Ultraflora Women's, a once-daily supplement with targeted probiotics, clinically shown to support healthy vaginal odor and bacterial balance and promote a healthy pH. Finally, get to the root of lasting vaginal health and well-being. Metagenics, the science that creates balance.
go to fire my truck up and absolutely blow away a mother and a 4-year-old.
Right next
And
to
I
blew
mean,
her hat
like,
off, huh?
blow them away. And yeah, one of those like pit in your stomach, embarrassing.
Did you have
Not
to
good.
get out and be like, I'm sorry?
No, I drove off as fast as I could. I told these guys, because like not even to make the story better, just genuinely what happened. I drove off as fast as I could a direction I never go. Ended up getting lost in a neighborhood because I didn't know
You
it
were
was
embarrassed?
a new way. Because usually I U-turn and have to go back across the school. There's no way I was doing that. So I just
Have you
I didn't
dropped?
even-
Have you dropped him off since? That was the
I dropped him
follow-up.
off this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
My cheeks were red. I'm sure that, I looked not right.
You got Christmas break coming up. Maybe people will forget about
Yeah.
it.
So anyway, that was the
You have to
Cliff Notes.
change
It
trucks.
It still bothers me. Campos hit me on Slack and was like, "Dude, I couldn't stop laughing." I'm like, "I'm so embarrassed. I'm glad you're laughing." Like I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Pit in the stomach. One of those, one of those things.
So you're 800 episodes deep. Is that what you said? 800 plus.
865, I think. Yeah, I think it. I kind of stopped counting as far as at one point in time, I saw 70 million downloads over the course of its history.
Wow.
And it's hard to say if those are downloads or impressions. I haven't checked in a long time, but it's been a real blessing to do. And I judge the success of the podcast based off of direct messages and emails that I get. I don't read reviews. I don't read any of that. I don't really care about that. What I care about is people emailing saying, I shot this buck because of you. You helped me. Your guest helped me. You asked great questions. I was able to learn how to do X, Y, or Z. For me, that's the reward of doing what I do, is helping people be successful. Bill Winke, who's big in the whitetail world, is a good friend of mine. And back in 2010, he had MidwestWhitetail.com. At the time, it was just a powerhouse. And we were fishing one day in Colorado, and he said, Jay, he said, the entertainers will come and go, but the educators and the informers are here to stay. And so that always kind of
with you.
resonated with me and stayed with me, that, if I can do my best to help people be better at what they do, they'll be better, I'll be better. And that's kind of the gist of, or the why of why I do what I do.
One thing, we're 100 episodes. We'll be 100 episodes in here pretty quick, and I've got
This is over.
this is
Yeah,
over
this will be
100.
over 100.
We're
This
over
is
100.
episode
Sorry,
100.
I'm trying to. I
Come on,
should
Trail.
know this.
Come on, Trail.
I kind of have a hand in it, but yeah, we'll be over 100. But it's interesting to go back. I was curious as to, like, do you feel like you've gotten better at it over time, and if so, like, how so? Because I go back to listen to some of our stuff, and I think I've gotten a little bit better. It's gotten easier, I would say.
I think you get more comfortable. I think as you do it and as you talk about it, you get more comfortable. I don't know that I'm better, so to speak. I think I do a good job of diving into a deep topic and really trying to pick someone's brain about what they're thinking, how they're thinking, why they're going after the buck in that way or the ram in that way, or strategy and tactics. And I like kind of diving deep and trying to really get in there and pick those nuggets out. I don't know that I'm better, but I'm much more comfortable when I'm guests on people's podcasts, which happens like this.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable just talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably I've been on your podcast a few times,
Yeah.
but I remember the first time, I remember it very vividly, actually. I remember I went upstairs. So we have like a loft above my garage. And I remember being asked to be on the podcast. And I thought, this is a big deal. I'm on Jay Scott's podcast, I remember, and it was probably one of the first ones I'd ever done, And I remember thinking, man, I wonder what he would want to talk to me about, And I think we were talking elk in Utah or something like that, which is, I have a fair amount of experience with that. But I remember being nervous. And I remember I went upstairs in my loft. I remember sitting there in the corner. I had my, my AirPods in, and I remember sitting there and first getting on. And I remember like uncomfortably, being kind of nervous. So you're right, it has gotten easier, but I relate to that for sure.
I think when we're talking about stuff that we love, it becomes easier. I think initially you're kind of like, well, what are we going to, how's it going to go? How's the flow going to be? And that kind of makes you uneasy, and I think that's human nature. But the more that we can just discuss stuff that we love, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. I think most of us too. I mean, a lot of us, at least I think anyway, I think a lot of us are cut from the same cloth. And when we feel the most comfortable, it's like being outdoors. That's why we like hunting. We like being disconnected from this type of thing, And so talking isn't necessarily maybe a lot of our strong points. So I think just generally hunters and a lot of us are kind of introverted. So it's a little bit of a stretch sometimes to jump on a podcast.
The other thing I do too is I'll just call you up or call Brady up and try and talk not in a podcast sense, just more like talking to your buddy, like how's it going? How was the hunt? Try and kind of get that feel. So you get stories and you get you don't have that uneasy, what's he going to ask me next? It's just kind of chatting.
One thing I always do, because I have the drive from Cedar to Vegas when I come down. So usually if I've got what, 2.5 hours, I'll call somebody up, and I've got a few of them that are a bit long-winded and they like to chit chat. So I'll call them up and just get my mouth moving and get going, get the brain turning. Yeah. And that always helps me. Like when I actually sit down and do a podcast, because it feels like my mouth is finally moving. I'm a little bit more with it in the morning.
The words flow.
Yeah, easier. The words flow a little better. Yeah.
I think you could probably record some of that, and these guys could cut some pretty good content.
Probably.
You have to be like, hey, I'm recording you now. So, but it's amazing how just when you're just free talking about stuff you love, how real it is.
Yeah. What got you into, something that you said you 800 episodes and you started a blog, and it was, hunting related, but what is your background? I don't know that much about you, to be honest, beyond, what I know of you with the Jay Scott Outdoors podcast. And I've known you since then, but I don't know a ton about you and like how you got into the industry and hunting. And I would be curious as to your background.
Yeah. So I was the kid, my grandma got Field and Stream and Outdoor Life magazine for me when I was a little kid. And I didn't have parents or people really that would take me hunting. My grandma introduced magazines, hunting and fishing magazines, back, I'm guessing 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Where'd you grow up?
In Phoenix.
Okay,
Phoenix. I grew up in Phoenix and come from kind of ranching family on both sides. And my grandma would get me these magazines. And I remember when it would come, and I would be the kid that would read Field and Stream magazine, and I'd, fold the corner of the magazine on an article that I liked or a picture that I liked, and I was just fascinated by hunting and fishing. Well, as a few years went by, like for my birthday, I'd say, can you take me to the local urban lake, and I want to learn how to fish, and did a lot of that kind of stuff where I just dreamed I wanted to do that. And so I saw these big magazines, and I just thought the guys in the magazines, I couldn't believe the opportunities that they were getting.
And nobody else hunted in your family? Like you didn't?
Yeah, ranching, so they weren't,
Gotcha.
A lot of ranchers, some of them hunt, and then some are just like, oh, that's just a dumb deer. There's the mother cow to that calf.
A time
and,
waster.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But as kind of things moved on, my dad let me do some hunting, and I had some friends that would take me hunting. I was the kid that was always on the shore at the lake when we'd go in the summer, and I would throw my little Zebco 33 out there with my bobber, not catch anything all day, see these little boats come in, full stringer of trout. I'm like, someday I'm going to get a boat. I'm going to be on that boat. And as a kid, I was like, that's burning inside of my belly that I'm going to have one of those boats. And, fast forward, so through high school, it just became something that I really wanted to do, and I would go with friends in college. But then, once I got my own wheels and could drive, then I had a little more freedom to go fishing, a lot of urban lakes, hunting, that kind of stuff. And, I was a competitive golfer also. I played.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I played
High school and college,
high school
right?
and college.
We have to get Porter in here.
I played. Yeah, I played at.
Have you golfed with Porter?
No,
You never have?
Or Lorenzo.
No, we
I'm
never have.
terrible now. I haven't played in probably. I've played a few times in the last 20 years, but golf was a huge part of my life. And so being outside, when I was 14, 15, like I worked at the golf course, had to have my parents sign the waiver that, he's too young to work, but, washing golf carts, picking range balls, and loved the game of golf. As I got done with college, hunting and fishing, it was all I wanted to do. So becoming a guide was a perfect step for me to actually be out in the field more. So I became a guide, I want to say like in 1996 or 1997.
Guiding for someone or for your own outfit?
So in Arizona, it's crazy because you can just get a guide's license and you're an outfitter.
You're a guide.
You're a guide. Like, don't know what the heck I'm doing, but you're licensed. As we're in Montana, some of these states, you have to work under an outfitter. You have to have a concession in Colorado or whatnot.
So what age was that you were?
So, right out of college, I got my guide's license, or maybe I was still in college, so I would have been, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. And I loved hunting so much, specifically archery elk hunting. From 1996 till present, I've never missed. I've been 30 days in the elk woods 100% of the time, except for 2014 when Dar and I had the auction hunter for Desert Bighorn sheep. It's the only elk season I've missed. And, archery elk to me kind of shaped the love for hunting. And, then it branched into coos deer and branched into mule deer. But archery elk is still kind of the center point of my love for hunting. The first time I heard a bull elk bugle I was hooked. And so I've been very fortunate. I was 20 years a public land guide in Arizona for public land bulls. And then in 2017, I stopped public land in Arizona and I got the opportunity to guide, kind of be the hunt manager at Ot6 Ranch for 5 years. So I was there for 5 seasons. My friend still owns the ranch, and that was an incredible experience because 50,000 acre ranch, and was able to basically watch these elk, deer also, but mainly elk grow up. And it was kind of my first chance to really trail cam these elk and really get to know them and, monitor their age, their patterns, their movements, and really learn. Like 20 years public land, I learned elk really well.
Yeah.
Learned how to hunt them well. But it was nice to actually get to monitor these animals. And that's where with the Mexico stuff now, running trail cameras and learning, I don't care if it's a big buck or a little buck, learning that buck year after year after year, why he does what he does, some of the things leaves, we would have elk at the Ot6 that would leave the ranch in the summer and come back in the rut, or leave during the rut and come back in the winter, and be able to predict where is that bull going to go, where's that bull going to, that's the part that I really started kind of getting almost goofy about. I'm kind of getting long-winded here, but that's kind of the start of it.
Yeah.
I got my guide's license. I fell in love with elk.
You-
In 97 I think 97, I also started going to Mexico for coos.
Gotcha.
And I've kind of structured my life where the summer I fish. My favorite is brown trout, moving water. I have my own rafts. We target brown trout, love dry fly fishing and streamer fishing. I kind of target fish in the summer. Then I transitioned to elk, then coos deer, mule deer, bighorn sheep, and then turkey. Turkey's a huge part of my life. But for the last, since 1997, basically I've done fishing for 3 months, elk season for 30 days, coos deer, desert bighorn in December, turkey in the spring, and then started all over again.
Jay's got life figured out.
He really does.
Like
Sounds amazing.
That's the dream.
And my real job is real estate.
Right.
So I also have a real passion for buying and selling real estate and investing in real estate. So I look at real estate just like I look at hunting. To me, it's a hunt. I'm hunting for a deal. I'm hunting for a good opportunity. So being a hunter has worked really well for me in business because I go to work every day hungry. I go to work every day like a hunter. And I think a lot of people that are successful in business kind of have that mindset of they're looking for that deal of the day and how to build a business and how to.
The challenge of it.
Yeah. My mind is constantly running. It's hard to turn it off. I'm always thinking of hunting or fishing or real estate.
Yeah, the more I've gotten to know you, that is very clear.
Yeah.
It's nonstop.
Yeah, it's
absolutely
my
nonstop.
yeah. I'm a sun up to sun down.
But
and
hunting
go.
came before real estate. That's one thing I.
So yeah, I got my real estate license also in 19. A lot of stuff happened in 1997. I graduated from ASU. I played 3 years of competitive golf at Grand Canyon University there in Phoenix, and then I had 18 hours to finish.
The antelopes.
Yeah, antelopes. And when I went
like
there,
that school.
I knew
when I
that.
went there, the antelopes. It was a tiny school. Now it's a
Yeah, it's
gigantic
big,
school,
yeah.
and they have an awesome stadiums and stuff. But I got my real estate license in '97. Got guides license in '97, and so I was just chasing real estate hard and trying to hunt as much as possible and guide as much as possible.
Gotcha. How do you manage? Because you love to hunt, right? And you've guided so many elk hunters, and you've had your guide's license, for a long time. Like, how did you manage the opportunity to go hunt yourself versus guiding clients?
So for a long time, I loved hunting myself for Coues deer in Mexico. That was kind of my hunt that
The
I
thing
would,
that you liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also be taking people, and that's how that business got started. Is I love my hunting partner. We would hunt ourselves really hard. I mean, in Mexico, we'd have 3, 4, 5 tags, 7 tags a year. We'd have different ranches we're hunting. We were going like crazy. And we were having success doing that. And so that kind of led into that business, the outfitting business in Mexico, where people were like, man, these guys are doing really well. Hey, can you take us on some hunts? Hey, do you have any ranches? Hey, what do you have? And so that kind of just started building. And every year it kept building. You asked the question, how do you juggle it? I would say that hunting always comes first, even over fishing, even over real estate.
There you
If
go.
I have a good real estate
Smart
deal,
answer.
I'll leave a good real estate deal for a great hunt. All day long, it's just a priority to me.
Yeah.
And now with my real estate, I have people that I can leave a deal with and handle it mobily, sat phone or whatever. And most of my real estate is my stuff or just a few people that I work with. So I'm not your typical real estate agent where we do have that aspect on our team where if you want to buy a house, we can help you with that. But I'm more focused on individual properties and investments for me and a few people that I work with.
Right.
But hunting has always, like, September 1 comes, I'm in the elk woods. There's no debating, like,
Yeah.
the whole month. I'm going to be somewhere
Yeah.
chasing elk.
Yeah, I've got buddies that guide, and I'm always like, how do you do that? I mean, they're in the woods, they're guiding elk, and they're out helping people kill elk, which I get that. But like my desire is always to be like, I want the tag, I want to go
Too
hunting.
selfish for that.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's,
and
for
to
me, I would
me-
have a hard time juggling that.
I've kind of totally transitioned where personal hunts, I really have no desire. My belly used to burn really hot and hard for wanting to kill big deer myself, and it's kind of gone away. My passion is outfitting and guiding and taking people. If you told me there was a 220-inch buck and I could go shoot it, or Lorenzo could go shoot it, I'm going to take him, or you. I've gotten to a point where my personal killing. It's not saying I'm not going on any hunts.
Sure.
It's saying that it doesn't burn like it used to, and building the outfitting business is more of a priority to me. And seeing other people have success than my own personal success.
I think it goes back to what you're saying earlier, though. Like you like, being an educator, and it's kind
Yeah.
of falls in line with like the outfitting thing. You like helping people. You like
I
helping
like-
people reach their goals.
I like helping people. I don't really look at myself as an educator because I don't ever want to be the guy that thinks he knows it all.
Yeah, but you
And
use your
I always tell
experiences.
my buddy, I'm like, if I ever get to where I'm like standing on a soapbox and I'm like up on my high horse, knock me off. Because that's, and people that know me, they know my intention is genuine of wanting to help people be successful,
Yeah.
truly. And I only say that because I just really make it a point to not be that guy that's like, well, this is how I do it, and it's the only way to do it. Because I learn every day in all aspects of life that there's lots of ways to do it. There's
Yeah.
many ways to skin a cat.
I wanted to get into that a little bit because you've killed some big bulls yourself. You've also guided a bunch of really big bulls. I mean, like top tier echelon, animals. One of the things I was curious about is how does somebody go about turning up that next tier of animal? Because I think this is something I think about a lot because it's like I can go out and I can spend my time. It's hard to turn up that next tier animal. And I think there's probably some tips or tricks because there's definitely guys that I know that seem to be doing it and they have a knack for it. I'm sure it's not a knack, it's not like, it's not, it doesn't come out of the skies or anything. It's not divine intervention, I don't think. But how do you, maybe, maybe that's my problem.
I do want to say, it would not be sincere if I didn't say that the days of what I used to do are not as easy as they used to be. So 20 years ago when I was doing it, there was not near as many people doing it and as laser focused as I was and as we were my team. Okay? So I think that competition, just like in all sports and all activities, has gotten better every year. Okay? So could I do it still today? Maybe. Could I do it like I used to? Maybe not. Maybe I could. Who knows? So with that being said, I would answer the question laser focused. I would go and try and find a 400-inch bull every single year. And I would not waste time on bulls that weren't 400 inches because I'm looking for a giant. And that's how I treat kind of everything in life, including my businesses, including real estate. Like, I'm looking for the needle in the haystack. If you're not the needle in the haystack, I'm looking elsewhere. So laser focused and super intense, I think, is the answer to how do you be successful in finding big animals. There's nothing else. Like, that's all I live for. That's what I wake up. That's what I do. That's what pushes me. Now, from a skill set standpoint, time in the field, going. There's a lot of people that are way better at hunting than I am. Okay. There's a lot of people that are more successful. There's a lot of people that are more intense and more laser focused. But I have had some success. If I look back and say, how have you been successful? I would say it's just that burning desire to find great bucks, bulls, rams, whatever it may be, and spend a lot of time. My real estate has given me the ability financing wise, or the financial aspect of it, to be able to spend time that I do. If I didn't have real estate and didn't have income producing properties and some of the success that I had in real estate, I wouldn't have been half as successful as I've been.
If you look back on some of the bulls that you've killed or you've guided, are there commonalities between the type of vegetation, the type of topography?
So much for getting the mouth moving.
Yeah,
on the phone
well,
call
that's it.
today.
Yeah, I didn't make my call today. Topography or distance from a road. I mean, is there any kind of commonality there that you can draw from that?
Well, before I answer that, I would say too, another thing, I think you're giving me a little bit too much credit because I was in Arizona
Sure.
during the peak of the peak, the best of the best. Almost every unit had a big giant bull in it. Okay? It's not like that anymore. So I don't want some of the young guys listening to this podcast thinking that they can only find a 350 bull, that they're not being successful. That might be the best bull that's in the unit.
Right.
But I wanted to find the best bull in the unit, and I still do when I go out and hunt or I'm guiding. I don't care what animal we're hunting, I want to find the biggest. Oftentimes I don't, but if that's what drives you to like sift through, I'll eat a tag so fast, I'll eat tags.
Metagenics gets to the root of whole body health with pure, potent ingredients sourced from nature. Clinically tested and trusted by doctors for decades. And unlike some other supplements, Metagenics is scientifically designed to be completely absorbed and start working in as little as 45 minutes, bringing your body back into balance for lasting well-being. Nourish your systems, don't just manage your symptoms, and unleash your inner power to heal. Metagenics, the science that creates balance.
Personal tags, I do not care. I want to shoot something big, and I think in order to do that, you have to be willing to eat it. And you have to be laser focused. I kind of forget your original question, but like I was in Arizona, commonality, I was in 9, 10, 23. Those are the only units that I even wanted to be a part of. Why? Because that's where the big ones lived.
But even within that, like I've hunted 23, I've hunted 9 a little bit, poked around in it. But I mean, 23 is a huge unit.
So I always knew that like 23 bordered the reservation. So you had the
Gotcha.
White Mountain Apache. I used to hunt, we killed some 400 pretty good bulls in 3C as well. So you've got the White Mountain Apache on the south of Unit 3C. You've got the White Mountain Apache on the east side of Unit 23.
Yep.
So I've hunted personally the San Carlos reservation 3 times. So I know the type of quality of elk that are on there. I've turkey hunted for years on the White Mountains, so I know what's there. So when I would hunt 3C, I would really focus on the border of the
Boundary.
reservation, because during the peak of the rut, a lot of times those bulls would come across because the state land would have a lot of cows. They'd gather up, and so you'd have your chances.
Gotcha.
On the 23 side, you have some of the same things where you have the reservation and you have those chance where those bulls can get to an older age class, which is what we're looking for. Sometimes the old bulls aren't big, but a lot of times they are. So I would focus on those reservation lines. Then in Unit 9 and 10, you've got the Wallapai and you've got the Supai, you've got the Grand Canyon National Park. So the thing that those 3 units have is they have sanctuary areas. They have areas where elk, deer, whatnot can get big.
Right.
And as we all know, it takes age class. That's a huge piece of the puzzle is age class. So you ask about different terrain. I've found big bulls out in the sage. I've found bulls up in the ponderosa pine. I've found them in the scrub brush. The one thing I will tell you is you have to just be constantly weeding through and looking at a bunch of elk. I think if I was giving advice to people, which I do on my podcast, sometimes people would say too much, is you have to be able to sift through animals and keep looking for what you're after. Because it's a numbers game.
It's hard to do.
It's
It
really
is.
hard to do when there's like 8 bulls bugling in a meadow.
Yep.
And it's fun and it's exciting. You want to sit here and video these 330, 340, 350 bulls. And those are great bulls.
Yep.
But if you're looking for a giant, you're wasting time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I always seen a lot of people do. Like when I'm hunting other states, I'm like, why are you looking over there? You're looking on private land at those animals that will never leave there. They're like, oh, I just want to video it, show my buddies. I'm like, you're wasting precious hunting time right now by looking at
No, I'm
animals you're
guilty.
not going
I'm
to kill.
guilty of that for
I
sure.
get sucked into watching animals. I love it.
Yeah.
I love watching animals, especially when they're rutting. Like I get sucked into that all the time. I wouldn't even be able to tally up the amount of time wasted.
And I don't want to come off too as a complete snob, because I don't feel I
No, I
am,
don't.
but I feel like I'm laser focused on, like, that's one of the things I really like about hunting Coues deer in Mexico
Mm-hmm.
on private ranches. Are you have the ability to sift through bucks, and you have ability to leave bucks, and you have abilities to rent that ranch for the next year and let that buck grow, and what does he turn into? And to want to be able to see that deer a year later or 2 years later or 5 years later and have the ability to do that, that creates a passion in me that just drives me insane. Like I can't
Yeah.
stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't think you're coming off anyway. I mean, I think it's a worthwhile conversation to have. I think I think generally as an industry, we've kind of swung to the point where, quote unquote trophy is a dirty word. You can't really talk about a trophy animal per se, when in reality, I think it's your prerogative to hunt whatever animal you want to hunt.
Absolutely.
And if you want to challenge yourself with, hunting a mature trophy, I have to throw in quotations
Yeah.
now, right? Or I'm not
These days,
okay
yeah.
to do it, but yeah, I throw it in quotations. But, if you want to do that, that's your prerogative. And I'm at that stage. I don't really have some hunts are different, but generally speaking, if I've got the time to scout and I've got the time to hunt, I want to kill the best animal I possibly can. And I like that for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons being the challenge in doing so is of finding that animal and then actually killing it, because that's a whole other level of satisfaction for me in hunting. And, I like to do it the way that I do it, but I think it's totally okay to talk about it. And I think there's a lot of people out. I mean, what's funny? Here's just a random rant. I'll get into one, but
Love it.
Soapbox.
Let's hear it.
yeah, soapbox. I think it's very bizarre that if you go to your YouTube page, right, you can find literally thousands of whitetail hunts where the entire goal is to grow and kill a giant whitetail, and it's like completely okay and accepted. But like you get into Western big game hunting, if you only want to target a 400-inch bull, if somebody was to say that, or a 220-inch muley, it's like, I don't know, that guy's a trophy
You
hunter.
guys, what a snob.
But yeah, what a
trophy hunter.
snob. Yeah, but whitetail hunters, I mean, that's
Safely removes poor gunk. Just like that. The #1 trusted blackhead remover. BRA.
That's all they
all
live
they
for.
do. They're into it.
And it's cool to see the passion of the guys, the Midwest
Sure,
guys.
I think it's awesome.
And sometimes we can't relate to it in a fact that maybe we're not whitetail hunters, and we're like, man, that guy's really into it.
Yeah.
But then you just come out west and you see Brady loves the mule deer, you love the mule, like you guys all love mule deer. Like it's the same game, it's just a different animal, and we have a little bit different circumstances. We have more public land than they do. They have more private. So it is what it is. What I try and tell people is like everybody has their passion. Like we should never be judging someone for their passion. If they're jazzed up about it, like I love turkey hunting. Like as jazzed up as I get right here,
Yeah.
we'll start talking about turkeys. And Lorenzo,
We'll
he
get-
could care
we'll-
less
we'll
about a
get-
dumb
we'll get
turkey.
there.
Like
We'll get there at some point, but right now-
he'd
Yeah.
run over the flock with his truck and laugh probably and be like dumb turkeys. But my point is, I like turkeys because I don't care about people say, well, do you score beards? Do you score turkey? I never in my life have I scored a turkey. Never, I don't. Yeah, I've measured a few beards. I don't care about spurs. If it's gobbling and strutting, it's going to get shot.
Yeah.
Now,
Looking for the adventure.
will I look for a big coos deer and will I go home empty without a tag? Yeah, but it's nice to have an animal like a turkey where you're like, man, if you come in here gobbling and strutting, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But chasing those big older age class animals to me is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome, and I think most people would be lying to themselves if they didn't go out on opening day and hope for the opportunity of an animal of that caliber.
Yeah.
So I think it should be okay that you talk about things like. That's why I was curious on asking you, because I know that you've guided, you've killed some gigantic animals yourself. That's why it's interesting to me in exploring that from somebody that's done it is, how do you find that caliber of animals? So that's why I was curious and asking. I think it's completely okay that people talk about it.
I think you've got to be in those states, you got to be in those units where those animals live first and foremost. I
Yep.
think people that have shot a bunch of stuff, and if they want to kill something bigger, they've got to go where they're at. Now, as we all know, and one of the things that Go Hunt morphing over time, what Go Hunt has morphed into is an unbelievable education platform that is helping people figure out these things. There's a whole group of people that are saying it's too much education, it's too much information. Bull. You want everybody that goes out to be as educated and informed. And who am I to say I love the tug on the end of my line, my rod bending, and I don't want this guy to be able to have that same thing? I've had my day in the sun,
Yep.
All I want to do is help people get to see things that I've seen and experience. And Go Hunt over time has morphed into this unbelievable platform. And I don't mean to turn this into a commercial, but educating people on units, specific areas, specific elevation bands. I mean, to even think when you started this, that now you have a mapping system that you're searching elevation bands.
That's pretty crazy.
I mean, I remember when you started.
Yeah.
I know in your mind you had the vision, but to see like where you guys have come is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I look back on it, it is pretty wild. Like where it was and where it is now, it's wild. to
If
think
I
about.
would have had that information 25 years ago, I would have been even more dangerous.
Right.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying though, right there does make sense. Like I'll throw my brother on our bus because he's my brother. Like we always go on our family
You
deer
should
hunt.
probably throw his name in
Yeah, you
there.
have
If you're
two
going to fully
brothers, so
throw
which
him
brother
under
is
the
it?
bus.
Yeah,
There we
Bryce.
go,
You know?
Bryce.
But like you're saying, like you have to hunt areas that have the potential for those animals you're trying to chase. He's always like, I'm not going to shoot a deer in our family deer hunt unless it's 190. I'm like, they don't grow 190 bucks where we go.
Right.
We go there because we see a lot of deer and it's fun. And it's a family adventure. If we want those 190 like he's chasing, yeah, that's why I build points for you in other states.
Right.
And you've had an hunt like that, and you didn't take out the buck that you wanted to, but you saw a deer like that. Because like you have to know the area, what the potential is, and that's what's great about Go Hunt again, because like we do show that stuff. You can kind of obviously there's going to be outliers, but knowing what the potential of the unit is, like Bryce, you're never going to shoot a 190 buck where we go. You just won't. Too many people, like the terrain is set up where people can shoot some deer, but just knowing what you have for it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good information, just like in the if you're crawling into the little recesses of the details, the things that you just said. Hunting areas, picking apart a landscape for areas that hold refuge, that an animal can get into,
Sanctuary.
can get some sanctuary. Yeah, they can get some age to them, because I do think, genetics is a huge part, feed's a huge part, but a lot of it's age,
Sure.
age class, and
You kind of need all three.
you got to have all
And
three.
if one's missing,
Yep.
you might get one or two good animals, but if you need all three.
Yeah, you need all three. So you got to look for those types of areas, which I think is a great tip. The other one that you brought up is time. And then also just the ability to set a benchmark for yourself, set a goal, and move on. If you don't find what you're looking for, keep going, keep looking. And I think I'm guilty of this. I will go out, I will have in my mind, I want to try to find, the best buck I can possibly find. I'll scout, whatever days that I've got to scout. Maybe I haven't found the buck that like really meets my expectations, but I fall in love with the idea of the best animal that I found, even if he's maybe only 170, 180 inches, which I'm happy with. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, I'm kind of giving up on the possibilities of anything else, because I'm now focused in on this one thing. So I think like you do have to be very, realistic and set goals and stick to them and have the drive to do so and be willing to eat a tag, like you said.
Well, and two, let's be real, of like back when I was not married, back when I didn't have responsibilities with all the different businesses that I have, I could literally light my hair on fire for 30 days, 60 days, and no one would hear from me. And what's Jay doing? Oh, he's looking for a big bull. It's harder for me to do that now because I don't have the time. So for me to come off and say, oh, you just need time, well, people are probably listening like, I only got a week, dude.
Yeah.
Well, great. Do the best you can with that week, and that's fantastic. Not everybody can take off that amount of time, and just do the best you can do with what you have. That's important.
And don't waste any.
Laser focused with what you have. We all have different responsibilities. We all have different goals and objectives.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically just comes down to do what you can with what you have.
Yeah. I was curious, you said archery elk was kind of the big, you did that. That was your ticket into hunting and you love that. I was curious, and you've guided so many different hunters. Like, what are some of the most common mistakes you saw with archery elk hunting?
I think archery elk hunting specifically, and specifically talking about Arizona, because they bugle so well and the calling interaction and that part of it, it's real easy for people to really get into. And I love calling elk. I love calling elk. But the reality is, if you're trying to kill a big bull, probably some of the best thing you can do is not call. Basically try and ease in with your binos, see if it's a big bull that you want. If it's not, turn around, go chase other bulls. Where I love to call to those bulls and have them come in and be like, oh, he passed a 330 bull at 15 yards. If you're talking about mistakes, if you're trying to kill a big one, not calling and messing with those bulls because you're just wasting an hour, right? Mistakes, people moving. People moving, bobbing their head, trying to watch. When those bulls are coming in, they will literally walk right by you. I mean, they'll walk from here, me to Brady or to Trail, if you just kind of tip your hat down and you don't move. So many people, I would have to be like, listen, this bull's probably going to come in. The wind's blowing this way. He's probably going to circle the wind. You got to be ready where he's going to come in from, and you got to be still. You can stand, and the other thing is they tuck behind a tree. You can stand right out in front of a tree, but you got to stay still. You want to keep your hat kind of down. You don't want to like shine your face at them. You want to let them come by. You don't move. Let them walk by. So many people, I think they make the mistake of either getting tucked behind something
where they
because they
can't.
think they have to hide, or when they're out in the open, the bull's coming in at 40, 50, 60 yards, or the cows are in the lead and the bull's behind them, and they're moving around.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've done, I'm guilty of this, is like you'll be calling a bull. I hunt alone a lot. I'll be calling a bull and I'll see a flash of the bull, and my initial instinct is to hit my knees. Just like, oh, I'm going to hit my knees. I'm going to reduce my profile. I'm just going to hit
You
my
kinda get
knees.
stuck when you go to your knees.
And then I'm pinned down.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't move. Like I can't move readily to my left or to my right.
That's right.
If that bull circles, that's like one little tip that I picked up. But that's when you said that, that's what it reminded me of. I was like, oh, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah. Stay on your feet so you can move when you need to. Kind of learn when you need to move and when you need to be still.
Yeah.
I think that's all of us that archery hunt and I've blown some. I always say I've never met an elk I can't spook. Like I can spook them as good as anybody out there. But I've learned there's things that you really need to do, and one of them is when they are looking for that sound. If you are calling, you got to be really still.
Yeah. That's a good one. Have you had any real meltdowns? Like any clients that have like really melted down
I mean,
and had
yeah, like where they're throwing their bows and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to throw it with them sometimes too,
Throw it
where
at
we've
'em.
worked so hard to get in the right spot, and you know, a lot of times it just happens.
Yeah.
And then it's funny to see, and I could probably be accused of that as intense as I am. Never like, oh, you screwed this up.
Sure.
More like, man, we almost had them. Like, you know.
Yeah.
A fun thing is like, in Arizona we have a ton of manzanita.
Yeah.
Tons of manzanita.
Ugh.
You know, you'll be like walking, either chasing bulls, or let's say, you know, you've chased them all morning and now you're like, geez, we're 6 miles in, and, you know, like, you have to walk back through manzanita. And I remember this one time I was guiding a father-son, and the son had the tag, the father was with them, and we're walking back. And I mean, we have got ourselves neck deep in this manzanita. Like, how we got there, I don't know, but it's one of those where you kind of keep plowing forward. You're like, well, we're going to get through it. I mean, we're in this where like you can't even touch the ground, and you're like just wading through this
the
just
worst.
sea of crap. And I look back and I go, just think, you're paying for this. And they just started laughing. We all just laid down in the manzanita. We're like, that, you know, just the timing of, you know, the struggle of the hunt. Here we are stuck in the manzanita, and you know, make a joke, and we all could laugh about
Yeah.
it. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I've hunted some of those late archery hunts for elk in Arizona, and
I think the first time you called me, you said, I have a
That's the
late
first time
archery
we
hunt.
talked.
And I said,
yeah,
why?
Turn it back.
Why?
Yeah. Can you turn it
Yeah,
back?
can you- I think I said that.
That's right. You did.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Did you turn it back?
No.
No, I killed a bull.
Yeah, you killed a good
Yeah,
one.
I killed,
too.
yeah, I
a
killed
nice
I,
bull.
Yeah, I killed a good bull that year. But I do
He
remember.
sent me a picture. I
did.
remember. He's like, I'm like, well, he killed a good bull.
Yeah, this is true. I do remember this now that you said that. So
Sorry,
I've gotten into some manzanita patches there where you're looking on your app on your phone and you're like, I've gone 300
Yeah.
yards. I have another 300 to go, and I've been in here for an hour and 45
Yeah, and you
minutes.
can't
Like,
even see which like you're
Yeah.
just lost in there.
Yeah, it's bad.
That shit is nasty.
Yeah, it is rough. You look like Brady always. I'm just going to preface this. Brady always accuses me of like dominating the conversation, and then he
does.
doesn't get a chance to get his questions in.
He goes from one to another, and I'm like, about ready to say
Yeah,
something,
he's
and
ready
he
to
just
say
like
something. So
jumps in.
I'm always trying to give him side eye so I can just pick him up. He looked like he was going
My
to say
man,
something, so
Trail.
I'll let you go.
Good old T-Rail. I just wanted to ask real quick because like I know the trend of like solids and clothing is like becoming bigger and bigger, and you elk hunt all the time. Like, do you feel you get an edge in using camouflage on an elk hunter, or can guys get by with solids? Like I say, as long as you don't move.
I think as long as you don't move, you can get by. I do think there's some merit to a pattern if you've got elk that are super wise. If you're using a solid camo that is shiny, that might throw me off. But the reality is, wearing a drab, olive kind of, off brown. I think more than anything with elk specifically,
elk
it's more of a movement thing. You go to other animals, I think you can get picked off pretty quick. Elk is a huge movement thing. I do think there is some merit to breaking your outline and whatnot. And I do think the more kind of, I guess drab is the word I would use, where, the kind of the olives, that's, if I was going to go with that, that's probably what I would do.
Some more so with sight and camo, some other species than elk, but movement is the key to everything.
Yeah.
It's the key to everything. Even waterfowl hunting, like don't move.
Yeah,
don't look up. Don't, trying to chicken head your eyesight around, trying to find these birds coming. It's literally every animal. Movement is the key.
And turkeys, I love turkey hunting so much. We've hunt those Gould's turkeys down in Mexico, and, they're not the sharpest tool in the shed, but they're still a turkey, and they pick up movement like it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
Like they can see movement incredible.
Like more than mule deer?
I think having the eyes on the side of their head, it's like they're just
Right.
constantly. Now, are they as acute as mule deer? Like, oh, that thing's going to kill me? No.
Gotcha.
Especially not our Goulds. Do they see it? I would argue that maybe the turkey does see it, whereas the mule deer sees it, and the mule deer's
Gone.
like, no. That ain't-
Yeah.
To me, a big, mature mule deer and even a doe in certain circumstances, they're pretty hard to trick. Like they're wound tight. Like their program is tight.
Is that the hardest animal to kill, you think? Or coos deer? I was curious. You've hunted a bunch in the West.
I don't think coos deer are that tough to kill compared to like a big old muley. I honestly think muleys have like a sixth sense. Like I think they have something about them that makes them so wary. Now coos are they pick up on a lot of things, but I would argue killing a big mule deer, maybe it's where they live, maybe it's how long they've been hunted, but I would much rather try and kill a big coos than if you said, Jay, your life depended on it, you have to kill a big mule deer or you have to kill a big coos, I think I'd go kill big coos first.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think the mule deer is kind of king as far as, being the acute animal of like all their senses are on, crack.
On point all the time.
Yeah, they're on
This is my
crack.
favorite part of the podcast. We're talking about mule deer being the king.
But
so.
his drive comes from archery elk hunting.
Mine
Let's
first
just
came in-
let's be clear about
Yeah.
that.
I love bugling bulls. I love gobbling turkeys. I love coos deer, I think, because I like the terrain that they're in.
Yeah.
I love that, they're in kind of varying terrain, but I love coos. But
Metagenics replenishes nutrients missing from modern diets with Phyto Multi, a multivitamin unlike any other. Only Phyto Multi adds a patented blend of plant extracts and phytonutrients sourced from nature, clinically shown to support cellular health and healthy aging. Bring your body back into balance for lasting well-being. Metagenics, the science that creates balance.
mule deer, so in the last handful of years, I've always loved mule deer. But I've really started getting a passion for the dark antlers of Sonora. And,
Yeah.
going down there with you last year, like those dark antlers, especially on those big ones, they're pretty special.
And there's just the Sonoran Desert is just, it's special in general.
Yeah.
You see big mule deer walking through pitaya cactus and those big saguaro cactuses.
It shouldn't even be possible.
Yeah,
you look at them.
It doesn't look right.
That's right.
It's like it looks so out of place. It's so captivating to see that because we always see them walking through the aspens with snow on the ground, and
Right.
it's just if you see them walking through a pitaya cactus patch and the giant saguaros in the background, it is wild.
And their
Doesn't
antlers
make
are so
sense.
dark.
Yeah.
It's just a cool, cool animal.
Yeah.
Sure.
I want to kind of know, like, where'd you develop your passion for glassing? Like how that morph and
so
like your optics
you-
choices.
yeah,
and-
I
so
don't think
I
you can
think-
be born in Arizona without it, right?
Exactly.
That is an
Like,
Arizona
can't go out
thing.
and
All
shoot
the
it.
best
an
glasses
Arizona
I know are
thing
from
for
Arizona.
sure.
I think my love for coos deer hunting and to try and be successful at a killing a coos, finding coos. I can remember when I got my first pair of Zeiss 10 by 40. That was my first pair of good binoculars. I was working at a taxidermy shop in college, and a client that would come in actually had a pair of, I forget what they were, but they were stolen out of my truck. And this guy was so gracious, still know him to this day. He's like, Jay, take my Zeiss 1040s. So I used them for like a couple months, and I just loved them. So that was the first pair that I ended up buying.
Did you buy them from him or did you buy a brand new pair?
No, I bought a used pair.
Gotcha.
And then I remember buying the first pair of Swarovski 10 by 42, I guess SLCs.
Yep.
And we had the tripod mount that had the little elastic strap or the Velcro, I guess, over it. And I remember Dar and I looking through these, and we're like, "Whoa, we can actually start finding some stuff with these." And we started using tripods. Before with the Zeiss 10s, I was just on my knees, and then once I started going to the tripod, anybody that's gotten into glassing, that like started out hand holding and then kind of morphed into using a tripod, I don't think there's anybody that won't say that they haven't been more successful at finding game. So for me, the more successful that I got in, let's take hunting out of it, just finding animals, the more like almost addiction I had to wanting to find glassing knobs and points and really focus my, I'm still to this day, I'm old school. Pull out the old, I can still read a topo. You can give me coordinates. Any one of you, if you're ever stuck, you can text me coordinates. I will be there. And more than now, we can plug it into our
Yeah,
Go Hunt maps.
yeah.
But a lot of the young guys, they don't even know how to plot on a topo map.
Yeah.
I lived by that. Like, where can I find glassing points? Where can I go up this ridge? How can I base my hunt for the following day off of this map? Okay. Where can I get the optical advantage? And that became something that Dar and I, my hunting partner, we got so into trying to figure out where to be at daylight, where to be during the middle of the day. So that's kind of a long answer to how did I get to being addicted to glassing. But I think like anybody that's had some success, had some open country and terrain to do it, it becomes where you crave it. You just want more and more and
Yeah.
more. And it's awesome because you get to see all kinds of stuff.
And as you get good at glassing too, like I'm not going to at all say I'm as addicted to glassing like you and Cody is, glassing guru and all this stuff. But like you really start to pay attention to how much more successful you are as you get better at glassing. It's like a direct 1-for-1 return.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As you get better and as you know what you're looking for and all this stuff, you start to look back and you go, okay, well, that
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened unless I knew what I was doing. You get to use the glass as the workload.
Absolutely.
Because you can only do so much as a person. You can only kill what you find, is
Yeah.
what Brady always says. It's like it really is a direct 1-for-1 payoff. So it gets addicting because you can quantify it.
Yeah, you actually see results.
Yeah.
I used to be the type that, just walk ridges and just bouncing and jumping deer and that. And, I still think there's some value in that where you're walking and covering country, getting to a new glassing point, glassing, moving to another country, glassing. But, spending time and looking at the basin before you blow through it, or saying, I know there's a big deer here. We're going to stay here all day.
Yeah.
But,
With Asana, it's easy to monitor projects across teams and track status and progress at a glance, so you and your team can make smart decisions faster. Try it for free at asana.com.
I played competitive golf. I know I think everyone here, I think, has played competitive sports from what I understand. we're all competitive. It's fun when you're glassing, either sitting next to your buddy or on an opposite ridge, or even if he's in a completely different place. And it's like it's not competition. It's fun, but it's like, hey, how many deer did you see? Well, as we started getting better at glassing, it was kind of fun to be like, we glassed up 37 deer this morning. That's pretty cool. We glassed up 72 deer. How many did you glass up? It's never been like, well, I saw this or I saw that, but it's more been like pushing us.
Yeah.
Trying to get better and better and better.
I think everybody's had the experience where you climb up onto a knoll. And
$20 to the first, $20
either
to the
that,
first butt
or,
spotted.
either that or you and your buddy are sitting there together and you sit down and independently, without saying anything to the other person, both of you are trying to find the person.
I got deer.
And
I got
both,
deer.
Yeah, both of you. Yeah, I got deer.
Yeah.
And if your buddy's got deer, you're like, shit.
Yep. I mean,
He got me today.
Tell me who hasn't had the experience. You pull up, the day before the hunt, and it's, hey, $20 to the first buck.
Yeah,
spotted.
everybody does
It's like,
that.
hey, who hasn't had that
I know.
experience?
I will say, you mentioned the glassing guru, Cody Nelson. If you guys haven't had a chance to actually get out in the field and glass with him, he is absolutely phenomenal.
He literally is the glassing guru.
Yeah. I mean, I believe I coined that term for him
You did.
because I was like, you're the guru. Like, you are the glassing guru. And he's phenomenal at it. And, we've had so much fun over the years. I don't know if you guys know, I was in Cody's wedding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And known him a long time. And he's an amazing person. But he's a fantastic glasser.
You did coin that name for him,
Yeah.
and it has stuck
It's-
because
yeah.
all of us are like, dude,
Yeah, we
how
all
do
use
you
it.
know all this shit?
Yeah, and I mean, I will tell you, that guy can glass. I mean, he can sit and pound some country.
So before my muzzleloader elk hunt, I went down to Arizona and spent some time hanging out with Cody. We just went out and glassing, doing some videos. Like he used to talk about, when he's sitting on his optics,
Oh, buddy.
he's dialed.
Oh, buddy.
Like we were looking at crazy distances, and he was still picking up coos.
Yeah.
Like middle of the day coos. I'm not
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about early morning coos are walking around. These are bedded coos.
Yeah.
And they're tiny, and he's still be able to pick them out because he just knows what he's looking for.
Yeah.
He has the right optic for the right.
He has a real sharp eye.
He can
And
pick
he
them
has
out.
he has a really good ability to stay really focused and kind of like, I talk about laser focused. Like sometimes I think glassers, you get those people that are just like OCD, like you think they would not be good, but they're almost like they are focused in their binos.
I could use a little bit of that. I've been known to just like quick once
Give a
over.
quick
Nope,
scan,
no.
nothing there.
What is your process for glassing? Do you have any tips or tricks for glassing? Like,
Yeah, for sure. I'm a real proponent of getting as low to the ground as you possibly can, staying as still as you possibly can. The reason for that is stability, lack of vibration, being able to provide your eye with the ability to not have things going on outside of it. You've seen the eye cups, you've seen the shirt over the head, all of that's great, but getting low to the ground, reducing vibration as much as possible. From the tripods we used to use to the tripods now, I tend to go with a little bit heavier tripod than maybe some people, just because I'm not willing to give up some weight. I want the stability. I think the more stable you can be, the more you will see, because my eyes, I guess I can only speak for my eyes are more comfortable. They're not straining. There's no vibration. I'm getting as low as I can. People ask, do you like stools? They're okay if you're more comfortable on a stool, okay? If that will allow you to sit there and glass longer, okay. I like a pad, sit on a pad and get as low as you can. Don't extend the legs as much as possible. Try not to use the center post. Not that you can't use the center post, and there's times when maybe you can just pop it up and you need to, get a little bit of elevation, but I would use the legs when you can, use the center post as a last option. Some of the best glassers I've been around sit. Some of the best glassers I've been around, they don't like to sit with other people. They like to sit off by themselves, and they like to focus. Very rarely, we talk about that competitive sitting with your buddy. Very rarely do I glass with someone. Most of the time, like when Dar and I go hunt, he goes there, I go there. We don't want to be next to each other because we figure we can cover twice as much ground splitting up. Okay. And I feel like when you're glassing with a group 8 people, you're not really focusing. And I think to be a great glasser, the best ones I've been around have a great ability to sit and focus for hours at a time.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
I've talked a lot about that when I'm talking with Cody, but I described it as like it's the mental side of glassing.
Absolutely.
It literally is. Like if you're sitting there having a conversation, if you're having a conversation back and forth, I'm not focusing on the task at hand. I'm literally not. You might think you're glassing, but you're
Scanning.
not glassing as
You're just
effectively.
kinda scanning.
If you're thinking about what I'm going to eat that night at camp or what's family doing back at home, your job is to find an animal.
That's right.
You need to be laser focused, like
That's
you said
right.
earlier. The mental side of glassing. That's why I like to glass away from people as well. Like
Yeah.
zoning in at the task.
Yeah. And glass like your life depends on it.
Mm-hmm.
I say that to people all the time. I also say like when you find an animal that you want to hunt, I go about it, I want to act like that animal can shoot back at me. And if you think about it like that, a lot of the things that you do will be different.
Yeah, a lot more deliberate.
I mean, hope they don't shoot back at us. But if you go at it like that, and I've never been in the military, my hat's off to the guys that are. I think I probably would have been a pretty good guy in the military. I probably have that mind of like, they're going to be shooting at me. What do I need to do? That's kind of not glassing. That's more of a tactic of like, I'm always thinking, if that thing could shoot at me, what would I do different? Oh, I'd probably be down on this side of the ridge. I probably wouldn't get up. I probably wouldn't clank the tripod leg, like a lot of things.
That's a good tip.
That is a good tip.
That's a really good tip.
It just shows me how bad I am at this. Actually, listening to you
Well,
talk
and-
about it.
and-
It's
I'm
funny
always
when,
next
when,
to somebody.
when we do these podcasts,
I'm,
it's funny how many different scenarios I'm playing through in my head as you're talking, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I can think of this one overlook where I'm wildly uncomfortable, and I sit there for hours and hours, kind of one butt cheek on a rock and kind of cockeyed, trying to make the best of the setup that I've got. And I think if I'd have just taken 10 minutes to like set up a little bit better, if I've got to build a little platform for me to sit down on, put a flat rock and just sit down and be comfortable, I'd be way more effective.
Well, you're ahead of me. I'm next to people. I'm
He's
talking.
already one ridge over.
I'm standing. I'm
I'm just
I'm
thinking of
so bad at
scenarios.
But everybody has their own style, like a lot of
bad at
things.
that.
One more thing I'll add on being successful, this comes from coos deer hunting, is I always say, and archery hunters are going to scoff at this, but don't get within 300 yards of a deer you want to kill. If you find a deer that you want to kill, do not get inside of 300 yards of him. Stay outside. And on coos deer specifically, if I can stay 400 yards from them, I can get away with a lot more than if I try and get to 150 yards. If you come coos deer hunting with me, we have done something majorly wrong or something has gone awry if your shot is under 300 yards. Now, our terrain allows us to be further away, right? Because you've got the canyons and such. But it's one tip for like the guys that are going out on my DIY coos hunts in Mexico. Try and stay at least 300 yards away from that animal, and you will be more successful at actually harvesting them.
I completely agree with that. And being an archery hunter trail, you're the same way. We've talked about this. I would prefer to be like 50, 60 yards out with a bow.
Oh,
you can you get away with drawing, settling. It's a lot calmer. I know it's a further shot, and a lot of people, effective range, whatever you want to get into. But when you get into that 20 or even like under 30, there's so much pressure on the animal that the animal feels. Things are
Absolutely.
chaotic. You feel more chaotic.
When you breathe in, they
you
feel
rush. Like things are rushed. Things are your shooting lanes are smaller. Everything's tighter. Everything has to be that much more perfect. When you're 50, 60 yards, you have that little bit
Buffer.
you just have that little
Cushion.
bit. So if I ever could pick like where I want to be on an animal with a bow in my hand, I want 60 yards.
And so
That's where I wanna be.
it's the same principle with a rifle or with a bow. You have that cushion area.
Yeah.
You probably also have that with different animals. Maybe an antelope or a mule deer, you're going to treat a little bit different. You
Oh,
want
yeah,
a cushion to
for
be a
sure.
little bit different.
Yeah.
I think that comes with experience where you kind of know,
Yeah.
I've
Well,
pushed my limit and spooked them so many times, I'm going to stay like right
I've
here.
been in tight where things are great, but things get chaotic because then in your mind you're like, I'm too tight. It has to happen now because we're too close.
And you almost
like
press
it has
it.
to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you almost force it. Where 60, you're like, I'll wait until the next shooting lane, or I'll wait until he truly stops, or I'll wait. You just have that little bit of pressure off of you with that little bit of buffer. And gun hunting's the same way.
100% the same
Like
way.
gun hunting's entirely the same way. Trying to get in under 200 yards with a gun, why?
Yeah.
Like now you're in too tight.
Yeah, and a lot of times now you're in too tight, and now you're going to have to take a shot that might result in a bad shot,
Exactly.
rather than be out a little ways where they have no idea you're there.
Truly focused. Truly.
Our
you know,
our
set
goal
up.
is to kill them.
Yeah.
If we find something and we say that's our buck,
Yeah.
our goal is to get that animal.
Yeah. And I know the other thing, sorry to cut you off, Brady, fucking just pulled the trail on you.
Got him.
I'm guilty of it though too, all the time. But the other thing though too is, now I forgot what I was going to say. This is great.
My bad.
This is great.
Now Brady, you'll remember.
No, yeah, I just felt bad about that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Let me
Anyway,
jump in.
go ahead, Brady.
So would you say the same thought is, like you said, you want to be close to shoot or whatever, but do you like to be a little bit further away for that cushion reason when you're setting up some of your glassing points, just to give that animal a little more comfort room? So if you do move,
Absolutely.
you do make a mistake, it's
I
not going
love
to
you,
see you.
Brady. Why are you getting so close?
Yeah, like, terrain's going to dictate it sometimes.
Terrain
but
is going to
I
dictate,
know what I
but
was gonna say.
get out away. Find the animal you're after. Stay away from that animal. We're trying to be efficient,
Yep.
Yeah.
trying to be effective, efficient. Like our goal is not to get in there tight unless you're an archery hunter. Our goal is to say that's the one we want. Let's do everything efficiently.
Yeah.
And that's a huge tip. Like
Yeah, and
I love the fact you said that.
even as an archery hunter, it's picking your moment. It's
Yeah.
it's staying as far away as you possibly can until that animal is in a position
Yeah.
that is the best.
I think
opportunity.
some of the best rifle hunters are people that cut their teeth on archery. They think like an archer hunter.
Mm-hmm.
They take those skills and what they've learned with that, and let's say, or maybe they hunt both, but someone that's really good at archery hunting,
Makes a
they're
good
going to
rifle
be a
hunter.
good rifle
That's
hunter.
Brady. That's why he's so good. at
As
the rifle.
dedicated, hardcore as you come, bow
But
hunter,
you think
then
differently
switch
as
over.
you do think differently as an archer. It's just you
You have to. Yeah.
So when you take that into a gun, what I was going to say too is like, you know, we're not shooting whitetail that are known to duck strings and all that stuff though too. You know what I mean? To make a point of that, like you said, to know what you're doing, to know how to be effective, and it is that get in as tight as you can, but not too tight, right? So that's that buffer zone like we're talking about, because we're not shooting whitetail that are ducking strings, or we're not in a tree, you know, elevated and them not knowing we're there. And the other part of it too is these animals, like their only job, literally only job every day
Stay
is to
alive.
survive. That is their only job. They feel the pressure. They
Absolutely.
feel it. Like humans have an ability to feel pressure too. We're not nearly as good at it, obviously, but like you can feel.
It's kind of like that buck in Mexico last
Yeah.
year when you guys were in tight on that buck. We didn't have a choice because it was so thick. But
But
weren't
he
you
knew.
sitting there and you were like, this buck knows we're here?
He knew we were there.
And
He felt the pressure,
Yeah,
and we were
it's-
dead quiet. We were sitting. I was actually sitting at the base of a pitaya, and he was coming right at us. I thought it was going to be like an archery kill, but he knew something just wasn't.
I think he thought you
right.
were other deer and were kind of like, I'm going to push this doe over there and come check it out, is
Yeah.
what I honestly think.
But they feel it. You guys all have been in that situation.
I don't like
They-
being within 20 yards of an
Yeah, I
animal,
hate
especially
it.
with a
They
bow. I mean,
feel-
it's a chip shot, but I also don't like the
rush,
I
the
don't like the
pressure.
vibe of it. It feels intense, way more intense.
Yeah.
There's so much more room for error than when you're out there and have a buffer. When you're in tight, anything
Yeah.
can go wrong.
And that's where, like, the conversations all the time about shot distance and all that stuff. That's where it's almost like you're hurting yourself for no reason. With all these people that are like, "Well, why'd you shoot from 300 yards? That's so far." Well, actually, that's a way more ethical shot than 100.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
when you get into 100, things go awry, things
Yeah.
get rushed, then you can't lay
If
down
you
like
have
you
the
want
ability.
to. If you have the ability, obviously,
Sure.
situation dictates everything. But if you have that situation and you can shoot them from 400 yards with a gun, or you can shoot them from 60 with a bow, like, why? What else do you need
Yeah.
to pressure the situation?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say, especially with archery equipment, that the animal's more relaxed at a 60-yard shot than a 20, because I think a 20 it's reaction time, whereas 60, they may just stand out there and kind of let it hit them, and they're a lot less aware.
Yeah.
I mean, if I go to my local archery range and I think I've got one lane here that's 80 yards, and I think about what the target looks at 80 yards versus what it looks at 20 yards, I'm way more aware when I'm at 20 yards of, like, you know, a bird that's flying by, any kind of movement, you know, my dog running around, whatever it is. But, you know, I back it up to 80, it just seems like it's, I don't know, there's a lot less going on for the
Yeah.
animal.
I completely
Seems
agree.
like. I wanted to go back to glassing real quick. When you, what's your process? I'm just curious. Somebody that's a really good glasser, like when you walk up to a knoll, you've got a spot picked out. Have you made judgments before you get there, as far as to, like, you know, the direction of the sun coming up, where you're looking into? Are you making, you know, what is your process? Are you looking at, you know, escape terrain first, and then, you know, starting left to right, or like, what is your process?
So I would tell you that most every time I'm going to a glassing point because I've chosen that glassing point as where I want to be at daylight. So I'm walking up there with a headlamp. I've chosen that particular point for a reason. I've used my map, I've used the aerial, I've used the terrain features where I want to be able to choose that knob. I want to have the benefit of the sun coming over my shoulder and shining on that hill, illuminating, whether it's rams, deer, you know, bucks, bulls, whatever I'm looking for. So a lot of times I want to be on a glassing point where I'm looking with the sun at my back in the morning at first light. So I've chosen that ridge or that knob, like, I don't do things very random. Most everything I do in life is calculated. It's no different with the glassing point that I choose. I want to be there so that I can use my advantage, optical advantage, altitude advantage, sun advantage, to be looking on those hillsides that the sun is illuminating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different times of year is different, but we all know that first hour when the sun is illuminating, stuff seems to pop to your eye in the binos. So that's a period of time where I can take advantage of using that sun. But then being a Coues deer hunter has really taught me this, that depending on early season to late season, but all of the time of the year, the Coues deer is going to be in the sun first hour, depending on how hot it is. Their next focus, they've been feeding, they've been chasing does. They're all thinking, where am I going to go bed up? Where am I going to get shade? People say, well, does this happen on a 4-season mule deer hunt? Yes. Is it if there's 8 inches of snow on the ground? Yes. Those animals, they live their whole life out there, and they focus on shade. Can you find a bedded animal out in the sun? Absolutely. But their whole course of their life is feeding, staying alive, getting some sun, but then going to shade. So I like to pick a glassing knob that I can get up and glass with the sun at my back, but then I like to have the ability of, okay, whatever I'm looking at, where am I predicting that they're going to go shade up? Is it tree line patch? You know, if we hunt a lot of burns where there's burns and then there's a mosaic, and like they're probably going to bed in that tree patch. That's the only shade they have. Or is it a contour? North facing, east facing, northeast facing, sometimes even northwest facing with the right sun angle. But then I almost start predicting which way are they going to go. They're going to go to that shade patch or this shade patch.
Mm-hmm.
Then as the morning progresses, then I'm starting to really look into the shaded areas. And I feel like on my Instagram account, I've like beat this to pieces, but it seems like every day I get a new person saying, hey, how would you do this? I'm like, shade.
I've watched your Instagram, and
Yeah.
I'm asking the same question, but I think it's important to hear it long form, and it's been good to hear you talk about it, because I mean, even as I'm listening right now, it's resonating in a way that it may not just looking at it on Instagram reel.
So all animals, in my opinion, ungulates, you know, you've got sheep that we hunt mostly, sheep, elk, deer. They're going to want to go to shade.
Yeah.
They're going to want to go to thick shade for cover. They're going to want to go to thick shade for comfort. Okay? So it's almost a prediction of like, I'm going to use the sun here. I'm going to let it light up this hill. Then I'm going to start really picking apart the aspects of that hill. You could have a south-facing slope that has shade or has a cut, and you can find those shady spots. So people misunderstand what I say when I say you'll find more coos bucks on north, northeast, and east-facing slopes than west and south. I believe that. That's not to say you don't look at a south-facing slope. They'll be on a south-facing slope, but they're still going to go find shade, period. So no matter which, even on a west-facing slope, they're going to find shade.
Yeah.
With coos, it's taught me that most of the biggest mature coos deer are on north slopes, northeast slopes, and east-facing slopes. Why? You go out, a perfect thing to do is go out there in the middle of the summer or go out there in September, October when it's hot and say, if I was going to try and lay in the coolest spot, where would I lay?
Mm-hmm.
I've had to be out here all summer long. Where would I be? Well, they're going to be on the where the most shade is. So I tell people, find the most predominant shade on the hill every day. Which part of the hill is the most shade? That's where I am going to look for animals bedded first.
That's good.
And not to get on a tangent on maps, but this is what I always harp on people can do too. Like when you're going in the field, you can mark data when you're out there.
100%.
You start marking those data points, like you're saying east facing, wherever they're going to be. You start dropping waypoints all the time. Start then going back and analyzing where you're seeing these animals. Or is it on a north facing, east facing, what elevation they're at during that time of year? You start to collect a big data set. Yeah,
And you get what he asked for earlier. What is it about big bulls?
Yeah.
Yep.
But you're talking about focusing on animals,
Yep.
and you're saying you're dropping waypoints.
Dropping waypoints exactly
and
where I'm
it's
seeing them.
data. Oh, look, that's where they're at.
That's where they're at. And it's over time, yeah, you might have a sample size of one right away, but over time that sample size grows. You realize where you're seeing animals, where you're seeing does, where you're seeing bucks, where you're seeing bulls. And then you do the same thing where you're killing animals. Then you can start to develop a trend. Like when I'm hunting this state, I'm finding them at that aspect, at that elevation during this particular week. Yeah, other times of the year might be different, but you can start to analyze all this data and you collect it all. And all of a sudden you have a data set of maps of animals,
Right.
of kill spots.
For instance, you might be in a high country basin, Colorado, and in the summer they're laying right out in the wide open in the sun. Well, why are they doing that? Well, bugs. They just want to be where they can see. Okay, you have a 4th season tag. Those bucks might have migrated, yes, but we've been in lots of basins where they're in the same basin. Summer, 4th season. They haven't moved yet. Maybe they're not laying out in the sun. Maybe they're over by the aspen patch or by that mosaic of trees because they need a little bit of cover.
Yep.
Are they in that cover because they're trying to get shade? Yeah, but they're also probably trying to hide, right? So you
100%.
start noticing that stuff.
Start developing little trends, and you can extrapolate that. And what's that going to look like in a different unit? Can I use that same data because it has the same terrain features, same habitat, same vegetation as over here? And then it can benefit you when you're going out of state or even in your own state. There's a lot of cool things you can do. That's why I'm glad you brought all that stuff up.
Yeah, shade is important. I mean, if you think about, if you guys you've probably all seen like it's this video of a lion, I think, or it might be a leopard or a cheetah stalking impala in Africa. And you watch this thing like use the shade and the bank, and he's like working right along these little thin lines of shade. I mean, animals know that shade equals cover.
Absolutely.
You know, they know that as well as we do, right? Because when we're stalking, you definitely don't want to put yourself out in the sun. You want to use the
No.
shade to your
Yeah.
advantage. You want to hug the corners and pick up all the shade that you can. So animals no different. I mean, I agree. They find it for, thermoregulation and being cool, especially in the summer when it's hot. But they also use a lot just for cover because they know that they're going to
Instinct.
blend in. Instinct. Yeah.
It's fun to me when I am able to talk with the hunters either through Instagram or through my podcast or just people that come hunt with me and guys that have hunted a long time. And I'm like, I'm focusing on shade. And they kind of look at me and they're like, we're talking accomplished hunters. They're like, I never really thought of it like that. I just sit down to glass and just whatever I see. And I'm like, that's great. That's great. But you can take it to a whole nother level. And like what Brady's saying with these data points, like I've got data points in here too of like, I've learned where they're going to be.
Yeah.
And I think all of us, with all of our experiences, we kind of put away, but it's fun to kind of have people that have hunted a long time. They're like, I never really thought to really focus on shade.
Yeah.
And then they send you a message of like, Jay, I found a big buck, mature big buck, and he was in the shade.
Yeah. I don't do the data and stuff like Brady does, but more over time, like in the back of my head, I've come to realize topography that looks good, which way are they going to be using the mountain to go to shade? So in the past, I've always thought that I don't necessarily have a way of glassing, but I do. It's what looks good to me topographically of how they would funnel into a piece of shade. So I do focus on shade, and I focus on like the pieces that look like they would use very easily to just duck into a piece of shade. That's what I've always done, which essentially is a data set in my head.
You've developed a search image for
Yeah,
what you're
like
looking for.
I look at a hill and I'm like, oh, that looks like a
But
great little
that's also
feed path
building
into shade.
confidence. You've picked those things up and probably had success seeing
Oh,
the
yeah.
animal you're looking for. So your brain registers that, like, that's confidence
Yeah,
saying
looks good.
That
Shade,
looks good to me.
Funnel.
Yeah,
right
now
there.
you develop intuition.
Exactly.
But for those that maybe haven't really thought about it, I get messages. I'm sure you do all the time. How do I find them? Well, we'll go out and glass. Well, what does
Yeah.
that mean?
Yeah, what is
So
that?
what am I looking at?
Well, and you asked too, like when you go up to a glassing point, I didn't really hit it. Like, am I focusing on if I'm getting to that glassing point, if I potentially spook something, where am I going to see them? Like escape routes, do I hit them with my chest binos and, just kind of hit it real fast and then kind of sneak in? It's typically what I do. I'll get to a spot and I'll kind of just like, is there anything out in the open, anything easy, anything that should be right here? Okay, no. I kind of slink along and try and set up my tripod. And then what do I do from there? Left or right, you ask all that. I'm looking where the sun is hitting the hill first, getting the most light to my eye. What can I pick up? Anything moving. At first light, I'm scanning. I'm moving quick. I'm scanning what you're saying, places where you've identified as that's a saddle, places where you've seen
The
them
most
before, like
likely
that looks
spot.
good.
Yeah.
When I first sit down for probably the first 30 minutes, I'm looking at the high probability spots. And I'm looking at where I've learned I see the most, and I'm not going slow. Dar, my hunt partner, is one of the best glassers I've ever been around. He has the amazing ability to glass super slow, and he has an amazing ability to pan, scan, pan, 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 pan. Sorry, I keep hitting that. Scanning hard, left, right, left, up, down. Do I have a left, right? No. I'm just basically sweeping. Picture like a paintbrush. I'm just sweeping, scanning, looking at saddles, looking here. I'm kind of shotgunning.
Yeah.
Okay? Then I slow down and I start a slow pan. I typically kind of go probably left or right. If it would be a good one to kind of like track.
Pay attention.
But if I had to bet, it would be left or right. I don't think it's consciously left or right, but kind of, and then I'll just drop down and I'll pan. And I'm still doing fairly fast, but a lot slower than I was. Then as I start seeing deer and now they're not feeding as much and maybe they're doing a little walking and I can tell, hey, they're kind of looking for bedding. Then I start really looking in the shade pockets, trying to focus on, oh, that buck's been bedded there the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he already fed in the night in the open, went in the bed, the does walked right over to him.
Yeah.
So you mainly at this point, again, terrain's going to dictate how far you are away, but are you going binos or are you going spotter?
So I never glass with a spotter ever. I shouldn't say ever. If there's like a basin way off and I'm like, it's too far to see, I might pop my spotting scope and just kind of see. But I'm always glassing with binos and identifying or classifying with a spotter. It's also why I love the twin spotters.
Yeah, that was the next thing. Twins are
BTX. I have the BTX and the twins. And it's funny how, you go from a 1042, you go to a 1242, 1556, you go to a twins or a BTX. And depending on your terrain, you get those tools that you want to look further. Okay? I think some people, and I am included in this, you get to wanting to look far right away. Instead of looking, put your 10s on the tripod
That's me.
and look with your 10s for a while. Pop your 15s on, now go to the big eyes. Is kind of, how many times do I just pop the big eyes up? I'm looking 3 miles away, and Dar's like, well, you got deer? Yeah. Where are you looking? I'm like, he's like, you're on a different ranch. Like he's like, we got a good buck right here. You didn't even look for him.
That's
So-
me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all guilty of
I think
kind
it's
of progressing to look further.
I think it's because I've thought about this actually. So I just got home from Nevada on a deer hunt, and I'm guilty of this. And I think a lot of the times the reason is I think about it is because it's uncomfortable to glass with. So it's picking the right tool for the job, right?
Right.
So if I've got a 10-power binocular, it can be a little bit meticulous to look at things that are closer to me and a little bit uncomfortable because they are so close. Your field of view is smaller. It's almost tedious. So I think my natural tendency is to like raise them up, go out there an extra mile. I feel more comfortable because I can see more.
You can scan a little bit.
Yeah, I can scan a little bit. I'm just more comfortable. I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit uncomfortable to glass that close stuff, but I'm guilty of that. And there's a lot of times when I've been out with people and they'll be like, "Oh, there's a nice buck right here below you, 200 yards." And
How
I'm
many
like, well,
times does that happen?
All the time.
It happens where you're like, he's been laying there the whole time.
Yeah.
Like 30 minutes or an hour has gone by, and
Mm-hmm.
that buck's been there the whole time, and you're looking 5 miles
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, back in the day, hunting with Mather a lot. How many animals does Mather spot?
All the
Our
time.
camera guy.
Yeah,
Because we're always looking way too far away, and
That's
he's
what's-
looking really close.
Camera guys are famous.
And
for
you
this.
haven't seen anything, and he's like, "What about
What about
these
that
guys?"
one right
Yeah,
there?
with his
Yeah,
eyes.
that happens a lot.
It does
Actually,
with cameramen. It's really funny to think back on it and look back on it because like we hunt with cameramen a lot, obviously doing these originals and things that we do, filming these hunts, and we'll be looking so far away, and every cameraman, every single one has done it at this point. Where it's like, what about that
Yeah.
right there?
Are you
And you're
looking
like,
for
what?
that? Because he's right there.
I've
What do you
not
mean?
been on a
And
hunt
it's-
with a camera guy where this didn't happen pretty
And it's
regularly.
100 yards.
And they're not even using binos.
No,
they're
they're
just like,
naked
yeah,
eye.
there, right
They're
there.
like,
It's
there's one
100
right
yards,
there.
and you're like, oh.
And you've been sitting there for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or with the elk, it happens a lot because I'll be looking across basin or something, and they'll be like, "Well, there's one that's coming in right here." I mean, he's literally right there.
Yeah.
You know, I'll miss it because I'm looking too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Do you have any other good glassing questions, or should we?
I just kind of want to know, like, what's your, let's say, Coos mule deer, ideal optic setup? What binos, what spot are you taking, tripod?
Coos mule deer combo
Can I
or
say this may be
Coos and mule deer.
Yeah, Coos hunt, what would it be? And then let's say, like, maybe a Colorado or
Okay,
type
so-
mule deer hunt.
I think the best binocular power ever is a 10 by 42. Just if I was just going to say bino for everything, okay? For Coos specifically, I'm going to go with the 15 power just because of the extra 5 power. I love the 12, like I run the 12 NL Swarovskis mostly. My hands always, and even golf, I had a little bit of shake, and I can still handhold the 12s, where the 1250 ELs before they made with the wide field of view, I couldn't handhold. I can't handhold 15s. I'm going to say 15s for Coos. I'm going to say 12 for mule deer elk, 10 or 12s. I think the 12 is a great mixture. Now, if I'm hunting country that's tight, I'm going to have a 10 on my chest.
What about spotters? What do you like?
Spotters, I like to get as big of objective as I can, but it comes with a trade-off,
Sure.
weight.
Yeah.
The 65 millimeters, to me, I have them. I'm always just wanting a little bit more. When you get the 85 and 95, you know, the 80 pluses, that's where I think the spotters are real beneficial. You know, if you're, obviously it's totally weight oriented, and if it's backpack oriented and you're really trying to cut weight and you're just trying to be like, pop up a small spotter, that's one thing. Typically, I'm carrying a 95.
When you
I-
say more, you're talking light, right? You want a brighter, clearer image.
Yeah, I want to be able to zoom in at high power
Gotcha.
and be able to identify what I'm looking at. The whole goal of a spotting scope for me is take it a next step further from what I see on the binos, and is that buck a shooter or not? Does he have a dropper? Does he have an inline? Start being able to like score and field judge and look at eye guards. There's a whole other train of thought of like, if you're looking at him in the 15s and he doesn't look like a giant, he's not big enough.
Yep.
But then there's a point when you start getting at we're talking mule deer, 190, 200, 205. Like, well, is he a 180 frame, but he's got trash, or what kind? Oh, he's got 3 kickers there. I couldn't tell. So that's where the spot air game, I want to be able to zoom in and hold that image as clear as possible. The technology from when I started, like, I think if I added all of you guys' age up, you might be to how old I am.
Oh, I don't know.
But right now, it's an amazing time to be a consumer because of all the companies that are continually pushing the envelope in all aspects, not only the binos, spotters, range-finding binoculars, image stabilized. I mean, what a time to be doing what we're doing. Whereas way back when I started, you didn't have near the options that we have now. It's exciting to me to know that a young guy can pick up the sport and probably shorten that curve a lot more than, say, if he's using the spotting scope that I used 30 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Glassy, you good?
We can move on, Trail.
You
Thanks
sure?
thanks for asking.
You all right? You all right with that?
I'm good. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because I think one thing that's coming through pretty clear to me in talking with you, and I've known you a little bit, but you seem to be a very analytical person. You look at things very analytically. You're picking things apart. You seem to have a formula for the way that you do things. One of the things that you've done quite a bit on social media is you seem to have like a way of breaking down or estimating score of an animal on the hoof. And I wanted if you'd be willing to like talk about, some of those things that you're looking for, whether it's a bull elk, it's a mule deer, Coues deer, and some of those formulas that you've kind of worked out and how you use those to estimate score on the hoof.
Sure. I think first and foremost, I will say I've gotten some criticism, and I think it's warranted, of being someone that is too analytical and that is maybe placed too much emphasis on score. My answer to those people always is, in everything I do, I want to be credible. And I don't know many people that don't, right? I probably take it to another level of like, the worst thing someone could say is Jay is not credible, or Jay didn't do what he said he was going to do, or Jay didn't come through, or that would kill me. Like those, if people say I'm a dirtbag or whatever they want to say, that's fine. But to say that I didn't, follow through or I wasn't credible. So I think my desire to want to be able to classify animals and judge animals comes from the fact of I want not only me, but I want people to be able to look at animals and have conversations with their buddies and say it was a 180 class buck, or it was a 400 inch bull, or a 350 bull, or a 300 inch bull. Not from a standpoint of like that elk is better than this 5x6 that will never be 400 inches. More from a standpoint of like, I believe we all as hunters owe other hunters and history of our sport. We owe it to those animals and those prior hunters that have harvested things to be able to accurately talk about, I saw a 210 inch deer. Well, if you killed one 40 years ago that's 210 inches and the deer's really, that you're saying you saw is really 170, in my mind, you're almost doing a disservice to that historical animal that was killed. That's kind of a long story to kind of preface. So I kind of really enjoyed over the years kind of diving in and trying to figure out what makes a certain animal score what he does.
Yeah.
And being an analytical mind, it was kind of easy for me to say, what is the largest percentage of score on a bull elk? What is the largest percentage of score on a mule deer? Like, what am I looking for? If I'm trying to kill the biggest, most mature animal, whatever I'm looking for, you would think that we need to be able to say, how do we get there? How does that buck, I was just in your office and there's all these giant bucks and antelope and all these things. What makes one different than the other? I value each animal, but I also want to say those antlers on their head or those horns on their head, what makes them different than others historically?
Which is okay. It's a value. I mean, this goes back to this. I mean, I
Yeah.
could get up on my high horse again. It's a value. It's a talking point. It's historically, we've had a Boone and Crockett Club. We've got Pope and Young Club. It's part of history
It's
of
part
hunting.
of history, right? And a lot of people sometimes they just they see this guess the score stuff, they see that, and they don't get to hear my speech of like, I really value an animal that you shot, an animal that you shot, an animal that you shot. That might make Boone and Crockett. Every animal has a story, whether it's a 2-point or a giant, but those animals that are exceptional, we should value them because someday we may not be talking about hunting like we are now.
I think
So-
anybody that says that they don't value that animal is
lying
are
to
lying
themselves.
to themselves.
Yes,
Are
yes.
they not?
Right.
I mean, isn't that like innately in hunting? I mean, you look at Bambi. Go to Bambi. What was Bambi's dad? He wasn't a. He wasn't a
small.
2-year-old. You know what I'm saying? He
Oh,
wasn't,
yeah, baby.
He wasn't a. I've seen the memes. You know, he was 185 inch. You know, 5x4 or whatever. But like, he wasn't a 2-year-old buck. I mean, a 2-year-old buck can do the breeding, right? Why wasn't Bambi's dad a a 2-year-old buck? But people like big animals. They like big antlers. It's impressive. It's interesting. You know, and I don't. I really bugs me that I think we get so hung up on that somebody can't talk about score. It's not that you don't. I mean, I know that you don't talk about score just because it's like if it doesn't score this, it's not worth anything. It's a value.
It's a value. It's a classification of how does it rank with other animals historically,
Sure.
and not who killed it, not who should get the glory. It's
Yeah.
the way I look at it. It's one of God's animals, and they should be held on a pedestal.
Yeah.
That's a special animal, and as they get big, they're special. And I think there will be a time, maybe not in my lifetime, maybe not in your lifetime, but your kids, I don't have kids, lifetime, there will be a time when those animals, someday they're saying, remember when they used to look like that? No, I've never seen anything like that. So I take it a step further thinking it's important. Go back. With that, I started trying to look at percentage of score with a bull elk, with a coos, with a mule deer, with a sheep. What is it about that animal that makes it score what it does? You know, sheep 60% is mass. You know, you've got mule deer, you've got 44% is tine length. You've got elk in the 40% tine length. Tine length. Tine length seemed on the deer and elk always came back to tine length. Forks and tine length, okay? What are forks? What are tine length? How long do they have to be? Can you say if a mule deer has 10-inch forks across the board, what's it going to score? You know, so that's where I started to try and build, like, if you will, with the coos, with the elk, with the sheep, with all of it, like classifications, categories. And then what I try and do is train my own eye, whether in the field or looking at a video, to say, how much does that score? How much does that score? How much does that score? From a guiding and outfitting standpoint, I want to be able to say that's a 100-inch coos. It's a 110-inch coos. That doesn't mean you're going to go over and score it. It's going to be 100 inches and 110 inches. I'm getting as close as I possibly can. We've all had the guys around hunting camp or whatever that say, oh, I saw a 400-inch bull. And you're like, really? How long were his tines? I couldn't tell you. How long were his main beams? Couldn't tell you. How wide? Couldn't tell you. Yeah. So,
What tips and tricks do you have for estimating, like on the hoof? It's like if you see a bull elk and you're looking at main beam length, how do you tell the difference between a bull that's got 60-inch beams and one that's got 45?
okay, so when the bull's head is down, right, a mature bull elk. Now, one of the hard parts with all the animals is at different places where they're at, they have different body sizes. So body size, for anybody out there listening, you have to be able to kind of have a benchmark of body size of where you're at, right? Because we've all seen bulls that weigh 200 pounds more than over in this area where they're 200 pounds lighter, or a mule deer that's, 100-pound difference. Those body sizes, ear sizes, all those anatomical characteristics, measurements can screw you up.
Yeah.
body size. How many times has someone shot a lone ram that's all by themselves? They think is a giant, and they get up there and they realize it's a small little bodied ram, and he looks big, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is, how do you? What was the question?
Well, like, so if, I'm just trying to give people a base. So if you're looking
Okay.
you know, myself included, and probably a lot of people that are coming from, you know,
You asked the
Midwest, they're
main
back
beam,
yeah,
right?
main beam
Okay.
length, tine length. Like, what are some measurements?
Okay,
you know,
so
and
one of the things I use is from the top of an elk's back to the hoof when they're standing on the ground is, depending on the bull, is going to be somewhere between 52 and 56 inches measured. 50 to 56, I would say, you know, depending on the elk. But if that bull elk's head is down and it's feeding, we've all seen them in that position where they're feeding, you want that beam to come up and over the hump. In other words, break the plane of their back.
Gotcha.
Okay? If it's underneath the plane of their back, can we picture that? I wish we could put up a picture or something.
Yeah,
But
well, we can. We
okay,
can do some.
break that plane. If it's under that plane, it's going to be under 50 inches. If it's over that plane, it's going to be over 50 inches. We've all heard the people say, oh, the main beam was scratching its butt. Can't happen. Never happened in the history of the world. Like, even the longest beams out there, 65 inches, like, it gets right back to, like, the haunches, but
haunches.
never can, like, yeah, if they turn their head all the way back and do that, but,
Yeah.
like, just a bull elk tilting his head back is not going to happen. But I use anatomical characteristics to break down. I use the tip of the nose to the burr.
Okay.
Typically, from what I've measured, is 16 inches. So when you know that measurement from the burr to the tip of the nose, if you know that measurement, when they're turned to the side, you can kind of measure with your eye, okay, that to there is 16, right? So take that point to the tip. You know, is it longer than that? Yeah, it's longer and it tips up. Okay. Okay, maybe that's 17. Maybe that's 18.
Gotcha.
In general, like on a bull elk, point length is everything. In order for a big bull to be big, the percentage of score is point length, main beam, mass, and spread. Spread is the least percentage-wise important factor of a bull elk score. Point length is the majority, okay? So long points, if you're looking for bull elk, you want long points. You want as many points as possible because point length is your number one. Then you want long beams. Then you want mass. Then you want spread. Spread on mule deer, spread on coos, spread on elk is the last thing that I'm concerned about. Now, with that being said, if you have a wide buck or a wide bull, that's also making the beams, if the beams wrap and come around and they come out and you get a lot of distance and they're wide, you're also building space.
Gotcha.
When you shoot things that are narrow, when you shoot a narrow animal, the beams are shorter. Yeah, they come and wrap around, but they're shorter because it's a smaller area.
Yeah, it doesn't
If it's
come out.
wide at the perpendicular point between the main beams and it's really wide, but all of a sudden it starts coming down and coming up, you're building inches. So your main beams are getting longer, right?
Gotcha.
So I don't want to say that spread does not matter.
But it can be an indication of how the length of the main beam.
Watch out if you're trying to shoot something big. Watch out for shooting narrow stuff. I've seen big narrow stuff, but I've
Takes a
seen
lot
a
of
lot
length.
bigger, wider stuff that's big.
Right. That makes sense. I hadn't really thought
then
about it.
mass hides length on every animal and on a bighorn sheep and on every animal. You have a Pensley horned.
Any ideas on how to estimate mass, like in relation to like the width of the eye, or
No,
No.
I've never really found anything other than just measuring a lot of animals and using my own eye and then scoring them.
Yep.
And I love to score animals, not from I want to score it to see what it scores. I want to score it to see how much mass total does it have. Does
Yeah.
it have over 30 or under 30? For elk, 30 is kind of that magic number.
Yep.
A lot of our bulls fall in that 25 to 28 range. you start getting 29, 30, 31, 32, you're starting to get heavy. When you get heavy, mass hides length. So you got to watch that. I've shot stuff that I didn't think was as big. It's super heavy. Mule deer, coos, all the rams. And you get up there and you're like, oh, it's super heavy. These points are way longer than I thought. Whereas if you have something that's pencily,
Yep.
it's going to be weaker mass and it's going to appear long, but it won't be as long.
Interesting.
So you don't know this, Jay. I've never told you this, but you had that muzzleloader elk tag this year. We're talking about scoring, talking about your scoring videos. So right here, people won't be able to see it, but I can show them. These are all your videos. I have them screenshotted. I have every little tidbit of information I thought was valuable. I can sit here and just keep scrolling. I have a folder
For all the animals.
All the animals. I have the mule deer ones. I have elk ones.
And
so all the little highlight points, I would screenshot that. And then when I was out there scouting this summer, I was trying to test myself.
It's
By
exactly.
looking at this on my phone because I thought that was so valuable. I obviously can't take Instagram offline, but I could screenshot little bits, put it in a folder, so it helped me learn.
That's awesome. That is so.
All that stuff was very valuable. to
Years
me.
ago,
Every little
for
bit of it.
Go Hunt, I wrote an article on elk scoring. I wrote an article on scoring bighorn sheep. I wrote an article for coos. I don't think I've done one for mule deer, but I felt like it was a real comprehensive article with great photos. And then that's kind of what I've tried to take to Instagram to try and help people get better. And I have had so many people on direct messages, not tons of comments, but privately say that what I'm doing on Instagram has helped them so much. And again, that's where I base off if what I'm doing is working. If I'm getting messages saying, Jay, I held off on this buck because of this, this, and this, and I shot this buck because of it. That to me is a win.
It's a valuable service. And I thank you because it helped me a lot.
The-
Because I don't know anything about elk, but I had a special tag.
Other
and
than
I
they're
wanted
the greatest animal on the
Oh,
planet.
easy trail. Easy trail.
I love it from the entertainment aspect. I love when you post the guess the scores and you just go into the comments and you realize how far apart
It's
people
unbelievable.
are.
I mean,
It's
on mule deer it can be 60,
unbelievable.
70 inches.
It's unbelievable how far apart some of these people are on guess the score, and they are like dead serious about literally putting in their comments G1, G2s with this, that, like
Right.
literal measurements, and they know what they're doing. But then you look at theirs as opposed to somebody else's, and it's 40 inches different.
Yeah. I do think it's
So
funny
funny to me.
on those guess the scores. When we're out in the field, they're guessing way high.
Yeah.
But when their name is associated, if we didn't have the person's name, I guarantee you it would be. I
That's
think,
funny.
and it's okay. People are more conservative because their name is attached to it. They don't want to overscore it, which is fine. That's really a win. That's what
Sure.
I'm trying to do is make people more accurate. I just wish we could do it when a guy says, "I saw a 400-inch bull." It's like, well, was he probably 350?
I didn't think about that, but that's funny.
The
That's
entertainment
a good
aspect
point.
is fantastic.
Let me ask you. So if you're out on the landscape and you look at an animal, and you're trying to figure out what it scores, are you just studying that animal and then you're kind of going with your gut, or are you actually pulling out your phone and you're saying, okay, that G1 is this long, that G2 is this long, I think he's this wide, I think he has this much mass, and you're adding it up?
So first, I have what I call air judge. I
Yeah.
probably stole that from someone, so it's not proprietary information. But I air judge. What is my eye? What's my guess?
Tell
It's
you.
180 class, 200
Yep.
class, 390 class, whatever it is. Then that's when I use estimating actual measurements. So I literally on my phone. I used to I said I guided 20 years and back before phones like this when we had. Before that was flip phones. Before that, we didn't have phones.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Take us back.
I would actually have my hands would be covered where I'd carry a pen with me. And
You write it on the back of your hand?
I'd write G1, G2, G3
Yeah.
score. So I measure up the points. If it's a typical 6x6 and it looks generally the same, I could score one side. Then I I can add this, but a lot of times I'd write, add it up, double it. You can get in trouble when you double.
Sure.
Okay, because if you're off one way or another, especially if you're guessing too high and you doubled it, well, you just doubled it on both sides. Now your margin of error goes way up.
Right.
That's right. I've trained myself, and I love it. I love doing it with all kinds of animals to just try and say, is that a 170 class? Is that a 190 class? Then I go to the measurements, I add it up, and then see how close I am. Well, it looks like a 190 buck, but I keep adding these up, and I'm getting 184. Like, it looks 190, but I cannot get it numbers-wise to 190.
Yep.
And you just kind of push yourself and try and train yourself in that regard.
Did you do a lot of shed hunting when you were younger?
That's the thing. Everyone asks me that. No, I didn't.
I bring that up because I think some of the people that I know that are the best at estimating are guys that are picking up sheds. And
Yeah,
they're
'cause they're
throwing a tape on it, and they know exactly what a 18-inch
Absolutely.
Royal looks like. They know what a 16-inch front looks like.
Now
you
I've
know?
scored a ton of
Yeah.
when I worked at the taxidermy shop in college. I worked several jobs. One of them was working at taxidermist. I still to this day, I love going and scoring animal. I love looking at a buck, going and write it down, write my measurements down, and then go see what he actually is. And that's how you get better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've underscored them, I've overscored them, I've done it all. I like to kind of fall right in that right on to just a little bit under. I like it when a client shoots something and it's just a little bit bigger. Lorenzo's buck's a perfect example. Had lots of trail camera photos of that buck. I did not think he was that big.
None of us did.
You would have bet me, you said, Jay, $1 million if he scores what Lorenzo's buck did. I would not have nailed it. I would have been under. Trail cameras, in my opinion, on a lot of times, they shrink animals big time.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's really weird.
It is weird.
It is weird.
And nighttime photos, I think,
Really shrink them.
So you got to watch that.
Yeah, that is bizarre. I noticed the same thing. Yeah, it is weird how trail camera photo, and you almost, I will say that trail camera photos of animals that I've killed, I've gone through and done the same exercise just for fun in a trail camera picture and tried to estimate how much I think a G2 or a G3 is and kind of added it up. But you're right, they do seem to underestimate
Yeah,
it.
Perspective of the lens.
Perspective,
or
something.
Yeah.
It is-
The thing
it
I
is
think
bizarre.
is it's really hard to field judge off of a photo, off of one
Yeah.
photo. It's really hard to judge off of multiple photos. I want as many angles as I can. I really want video. And then if I can't have video, the best is seeing it with your own eye. What I also like is seeing it with your own eye and digiscoping it, studying it when you get home, seeing that animal again, and breaking it down. Does he have 10-inch G4s? Does he, and being like, he doesn't look as big as what I've made him. Because we've all seen videos that we've seen stuff and we're like, that thing's a giant. And then you actually see it in person, you're like, it's not as big as that clip where he's turned a certain way.
Yeah.
Looks.
It's fun.
It is fun.
I don't know. I mean, we look at a lot of pictures of deer and we talk about it a lot. And I think, it's fun. It's fun to play with it. It's fun to
I think
guess.
it's fun because no matter how much we do it, you can get better, you can get good, but you're never going to be exactly right. So it's one of those
Yeah.
it's almost like the game of golf. You're never going to master it.
And I think it's just antlers in general are fascinating.
Absolutely
I don't
How
know why.
different they all are.
I've thought about this a lot. I don't know why, but so many people just are completely fascinated with them. They're just interesting.
Well, it's like
so cool.
Lorenzo. I mean, he shot that big giant buck last year. He's shooting management bucks and just as excited, stuff
Yeah.
that goofy
Oh, I
stuff.
like 'em all.
He likes
Yeah.
he likes all.
Yeah,
the,
I do too.
I like them all.
Yeah.
But just like you said, I like them all, but I also like to know what they are.
Right.
And for relevance for me, for the future, relevance for that animal from the past. I do genuinely like to know what they are. It doesn't mean anything. I really
Well,
don't
I was
give a
just
shit.
in your office, and you've got your top 10 mule deer bucks there.
Yeah.
And you've got a range from really big to pretty big.
Yeah.
But you talk about each one. You talk about the experience. You talk about each animal
Yeah.
with the same passion. One might be 190, one might be 245,
Yeah.
but they're all yours, and you have a story with each one of them. I'll bet you if I went in there and said, which one's your favorite, I'll bet it's not the biggest one.
Oh, no, not even
So
close.
that's my point.
Yeah,
Not
score
even
is,
close.
is
It's-
it's just relative.
yeah,
It's
it's a historical-
It's a parameter. What does it
Right.
score?
That's
Great,
all it
but
is.
there's so
why
much
it's-
more to it.
That's why it's so interesting that it's taken such a hit to the culture of it. It's
Yeah.
I don't know where or when that happened, but Yeah, I mean, they all are what they are, and I was just genuinely trying to shoot the best one in
Right.
each of the places I was.
And the people that have been
those are the
critical,
ones I
And
found.
not for the sake of the score, but because of what that represents, which
Yeah.
it represents an exercise in patience and persistence.
Am I getting better at this thing that I love?
Yeah. That's, I mean, to me, that's all the biggest animals I've killed. Score doesn't mean, I mean, I know what they score. I can tell you I've scored them,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really mean anything to me other than a number. But what really means a lot to me is that I focused in on that animal and I
And
hunted
got it
that
killed.
animal and I got it killed.
That's it.
That's what it is for me.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, there's hands down, I will tell you, I mean, I've killed a lot of animals. I've killed cow elk. I've killed tons of animals. The most satisfying thing for me as a hunter is to find an animal, the
And,
best animal
yeah,
I can find,
focus.
target that animal, focus in on it, and kill it. It's the most satisfying
me too.
thing.
I
in
will
hunting.
second that. And whether it's the biggest or not, it just
Sure.
might be one that I like.
Right.
Yeah.
And there might be 3 that are bigger, but I like that one.
Yep.
To me, there's nothing more rewarding than that is your focus
Hands
on
down.
that particular animal, and that's the one you want. And you'll go the whole hunt, and you might pass a buck bigger because you didn't get yours. So be it.
And trail means exactly that. When I shot my bull this year, that's exactly what he told me. He was asking other questions too, but the main thing he kept repeating was you stuck with it. You wanted to find the bull. You found the bull, and then you dedicated those days required to kill that bull. He said that was so cool. Like you put in the effort.
Because
Found
nothing
the-
feels like that.
Super
And you
rewarding.
did.
Nothing.
It's the
Nothing.
best thing you can experience
He
in hunting.
repeated that multiple times. Like that was so cool. You put in the time, and you killed it.
Yeah, I think
What do you want?
there's a progression in hunters. You know, we all kind of know what it is because we've hunted for a long time. There's a progression of things, but you know, when you get to a point, and I would highly encourage anybody to do this, like spend the time, find an animal, put the work in, the effort. It's the best thing in hunting.
Well, it's why all those whitetail guys do it.
It's why they do it.
That is the best part of
Yeah.
it. They could kill
And
so many
apparently it's
other
okay,
bucks.
but it's not.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's not out here
not
for
for
whatever
enough.
reason.
But anyway, we're over 2 hours. I had so many other questions. We'll have to have you,
do
you
it
back
again.
again some other time.
Yeah,
I wanted to get into. I just wanted to get into like hunting stories because you've killed some giant bulls. I would love to know how that transpired. But you know, I had wolves in Colorado. I mean,
We got a lot
Lot
to
6
talk about.
Ranch and whatever else you got going on in Colorado. But we'll probably wrap it up because we're over 2 hours.
Here's the good
wolves
news.
in Colorado. We got it.
I'm only 45 minutes away, so that's
Sure,
the good
we'll,
news.
We'll have to
Yeah.
do that. Do you want to hit that one real quick?
I mean,
we can
it's,
do
it's
that.
so fresh. They were released yesterday.
It is brand new.
Yeah.
I mean, you spend part of your time in Colorado. What's the vibe? What's your feeling?
My personal opinion is in 10 years, Colorado's wildlife's going to look completely different.
Off of one really dumb, like, it's,
Do you know the one that really hurts my heart? Like, Colorado has built arguably the best Shiras moose population ever known. I mean, they're killing really nice bulls. The populations are really good, really productive, really healthy. You know, they're using hunters to manage those populations. It's a phenomenal opportunity. As far as Shiras moose hunting goes, it's world class right now. That resource is
in big jeopardy.
major jeopardy.
Yeah.
And it really hurts. Hurts my heart.
They didn't need
That was
to
a hunter.
release the 5 wolves, so they released the 5 wolves, which is yesterday, December 18th.
Yeah.
They got more.
I've never
more
shared.
coming.
I've never shared the photo. I've seen a wolf track in Colorado before in 2018.
Oh, there's wolves
I've
in Colorado.
seen
Yeah,
those
they are
tracks
there.
multiple times, and they were following a herd of elk. I'm not just
Yeah.
saying this as some hunters like crazy and like doing this. I literally have a photo on my phone of a wolf track, and I've seen plenty of wolf tracks in my life.
Ask the
They've already
guides.
been there. It's not a reintroduction because they're already there. You
Ask
technically
the
can't do a
guides-
reintroduction if they're there.
Yeah, ask the guides and outfitters of Colorado. They see wolves. Like, they're already there. The people who spend time out in the woods of Colorado, they know they're there. They've seen them.
I think the biggest tragedy of the whole thing for me is, and it's just the nature of it, is a decision was made by a very few that's going to affect a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's sad to see that we think we have a democratic system where everybody has a voice. But the reality is that's probably not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to work through my head. I've done a lot of processing. Like as I was driving down, I was thinking about it a lot. I hate. It feels to me like the heritage of hunting as a tradition, hunting as an opportunity, as a, you know, quote unquote sport. It feels like it's being diminished to and not just diminished in the number of people that are coming into it and being recruited, but also just diminished in the idea that it's a worthwhile pastime, that it's somehow antiquated, you know, that it's not of modern times. You know, we shouldn't be hunting anymore. Like, it feels to me like you've got some of these major metropolitan areas, whether it's the Wasatch Front, you know, or Denver, you know, Boulder. It almost feels like they're looking at hunting as like, this is this thing that should go away. You know, you guys, this tradition, this pastime shouldn't be passed on. It's outdated. You shouldn't be doing it. You know, we should return wolves to the landscape, and we should have these pristine ecosystems that existed prior to, you know, humans, and, you know, hunters shouldn't play a part in that. And that's what really bugs me.
So they say what you just said, but what I find so fascinating and honestly hilarious in that statement is we should return these landscapes to when humans didn't exist. Well, we do exist.
Like so many success stories. That's the story of the National Wild Turkey Federation.
We are
and
the
Wild
stewards
Sheep Foundation and
of these animals. So with human expansion, and God only knows how many springs we've piped to metropolitan areas and how much water we've taken from the landscape from these animals, and how much pressure we've put on them from taking their landscape from them with human expansion, all this stuff. Like, yeah, we do exist. So now more so than ever do we need a group of people like hunters who actually do love and care about these animals and actually understands what is happening to them and what they need, and what the non-hunters have, the pressures they put on them with human expansion, all that stuff I just said. It's like, how we need to return the landscape to before people. Well, we can't do that. There's people.
Well,
you literally can't do it.
To both of your all of your points, like, I think that's where, as hunters, we need to stick together. And there's, you know, we all know there's bashing and stuff that goes on because someone does something different than the way I do it or you do it or whatnot. The reality is we're all hunters. We've got to stick together, and we've got to, you know, we've got to stop picking on people that don't do it how we do it.
Yep.
It's important that we rally together. And what's happened in Colorado is really heartbreaking. I mean, heartbreaking.
It is.
It hurts. Hurts badly to see.
Well, then the bighorn thing too. Like, they're coming off of a big loss with bighorn habitat, with the housing development or the structural development going in. I can't remember exactly the town. Sorry, but they lost that, and so the bighorns are going to be wildly affected on their winter range. They're going to lose their winter range. And now, just off the back of that loss, now wolves are being reintroduced. Well, not even just reintroduced. They're just adding more wolves.
Well,
to the
I
landscape.
can't help but think reintroducing wolves is just a way to make it where there's not game animals for us to hunt. So in other words,
That's the way it looks.
if you take that away
That's
and
the
you
way I
let the
look at it.
wolves kill, you let the predators kill, then the hunters won't have anything to hunt.
That's
That's
how
what it
I
feels
feel
like.
about it. I feel like it's just, that's the part of this that really bugs me the most, is that it feels like it's, you know, these big metropolitan, you know, areas primarily. It feels like they're looking at hunting as something that is, you know, we've evolved past that. We shouldn't be doing that anymore. You know, and here's a way that we can, you know, put a predator on the landscape that can manage the herds that, you know, formerly hunters were a part of that system. Well, we don't really need you anymore to do that. We've got these apex predators. They can take the position and manage the herd, so that we can just get rid of hunting, because we're past it. We've evolved, and that bugs me, because I mean,
it should.
Bugs the shit out of me, too. And that is what it feels like and looks like.
yeah, that's what it feels like to me. But I hate that, because I want to see hunting opportunities in perpetuity. I want my kids to be able to hunt, my grandkids. You know, I want that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's meant. So
No, it means
Well,
everything.
kind of a bummer.
I think all of you doing what you're doing here at Go Hunt, having this podcast, having these open discussions, I think you guys are doing your part to see hunting pushed and, you know, for your grandkids and your great grandkids. So
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing. From my perspective, guys, thanks for having me up here. This has been real
Absolutely.
enjoyable. Lorenzo, to you, back to 2015. Thanks for taking a chance on me and sponsoring my podcast, and still sponsoring it to this
course.
day. And That's important to me, and it's been important to my family. So everyone sitting at this table, I consider salt of the earth, and I just I'm glad to be a part of what Go Hunt is doing.
Appreciate that.
Thanks,
Thank
Jay.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
That was
Probably
really
one of
good.
my favorite podcasts too. I really enjoyed this one.
That was good. Thanks, Brady.
Jay's always fun. I mean, I've known you for 11 years now.
Yeah.
I think maybe more, even before Go Hunt days.
Yeah.
It's like he's always fun to talk to Jay.
I agree.
You can have him down here more often.
Should
Like
be
I
at
said, I have
hunting
way
camp
more stuff I want to talk about.
Go to
but-
hunting camp with them in Mexico, then you'll really
Yeah,
have fun.
exactly.
We'll do it. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
You bet.
see ya.
Yep.